Welcome to the 225th episode of the So Video Games podcast, where we talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. If we are playing it, we'll be talking about it. Today, we are recording on March 24th, 2021. My name is Brad Galloway. I am the editor of GameCritics.com, and 50% of this here show with me is the man who's rocking the biggest gas tank in the wasteland, Carlos Rodella.
That's me. It's Gas Tank 3.
Upgrade.
Dude, that's the first thing I did in this game that we're about to talk about on this whole podcast is upgrade my gas tank.
Upgrade the gas tank. What game are we talking about, folks? If you're a regular listener, then you already know that this is our special dedicated to just one game, A to Z spoilercast for Days Gone from Sony Bend Studio. We're going to be talking just about that game. We are going to be talking about our experiences. Carlos and I both finished it. We've been talking about it for several episodes. I think we're both kind of like semi in love with it. So this is our giant wrap up where we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, the highs, the lows, everything about it. In case you are diving for your stop button or anything like that, we're going to start the show with non-spoilery content. I actually stole this format from the Experience Points podcast. Shout out to Scott Juster and George Albor. I'm a huge fan of their show. I think they run a real tight ship. I'm a big fan. So I will send you guys each $5 if you're listening and you're mad. But I'm going to steal your format because I like what you do, and I'm going to do it here. So what we're going to do, again, starting with the basics, mechanics, just the general stuff of the game, the gameplay, how it works. And then once we cover the basics, Carlos and I will put up a huge spoiler warning for story content. There's a lot of story in this game, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of stuff that you don't want to be spoiled on. So we will be 100% super crystal clear before we get to any spoilers. So right now you're safe. There will be no spoilers. It's okay to listen. And then if you're planning to play this game later, we definitely recommend it. I'm sure you'll like to play along and then come back and listen to the show later. So we will give you a big warning, and you can just hit pause, come back to it after you finish the game, probably like 80 hours later. And then you can see what we said about the second half.
Yeah, basically. All right, well, let's hit the non-spoiler content.
Absolutely. So we're going to, I guess, where do we start? Start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. This is Days Gone, the open world, third-person, adventure, post-apocalyptic, created by Bend Studio, who are now a subsidiary of Sony. They are based in Oregon, which is, coincidentally, where this game takes place. I wonder how they got the idea for that. For people who are not familiar with Bend Studios, I'm actually a fan of theirs. Before I ever came to Days Gone, were you familiar with them beforehand, Carlos?
I wasn't, but then you told me the games they worked on, and I think I've played all of them. What did they work on again?
So I did a little bit of research. I know that we don't generally do that, but since we're only talking about one game, I know. I felt like maybe I should do a little bit. So I was actually pretty surprised. Their first game, Bubsy 3D.
What?
I would have never guessed that. That was under a different company name. They were Eidetic back then, before they became Bend. But most of the core crew were there. They did Bubsy 3D. Had, I guess, pretty good success with that. Then they went on to create Siphon Filter. That was actually pretty popular on the PS1 and forward. Did you play the Siphon Filter games?
Yeah, I played that. That's great. But by the way, we have to back up for a minute. Isn't Bubsy 3D one of the worst games ever made? I think it is.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah,
I
so
did not care
let's
for it.
just nix that out of their historical thing.
Yeah, different company, but I think it's really interesting to think that a lot of the people who made Days Gone got their start with Bubsy 3D. That's crazy. That is insane, crazy talk.
Well, you all got to get your start somewhere.
Exactly. So they went on to make Siphon Filter, which was supposed to be kind of a James Bond, stealthy Metal Gear sort of a thing, starring super spy Gabe Logan. The first game, I think I've played all of them. The first game was real rough, and I got to be honest, I didn't care for it much, but I came back to the series with Siphon Filter 2, and it was much better, and then I was kind of hooked. And I got to be honest, those games are actually pretty fucking good. Do you enjoy those ones, Carlos?
I remember playing the first one. Was it PS1, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, and I wasn't like blown away at anything like that. It was, interesting and stealthy, but nothing that I really remembered.
It kind of reminds me of Days Gone a little bit in that, like, once the people who play them have nothing but positive things to say, but a lot of people just don't take notice of it, or, this game kind of flies under too many people's radar. So Siphon Filter is actually pretty successful and a pretty good game, but, like, not many people have played it. After that, they went on to do Resistance Retribution, which was the PSP version of the Insomniac first-person shooter. I'd never cared for Resistance. Did you like Resistance? Yeah, it's pretty meh. That sums it up
Yeah,
pretty
it's
well.
a meh.
They went on to do Uncharted Golden Abyss, which was the Vita version of the Uncharted games. Did you play that one?
No. That was a yes, no.
I love that you started one way and then you went the other way.
Well, because I played so much of the Uncharted games, but I don't think I played that one.
I definitely played that one because I was real big on the Vita when it came out. I got to say I was not a fan though because they tried to incorporate like motion and some of the touch stuff, like all of the weird stuff that the Vita could do.
Mm.
Wasn't a huge fan of it, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Uncharted to begin with. So after that, I believe what came next was Days Gone. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've done anything else, but that's a pretty good history right there. A lot of good games in that, especially the Siphon Filter stuff. So Carlos, now that we're here, let's talk about Days Gone really briefly. Before we get into the specifics, let's talk about how much of the game we saw. Did you finish this game, and how much did you do?
Yeah, I finished the game, but after I finished it, which took, geez Louise, I think 50 or 60 hours, something pretty insane, because I did do a bunch of the side content. And then when I finished, you told me there was extra stuff after credits, and I did not play any of that stuff.
All right. So as for me, I did finish the game. I did all of the missions, like all the side missions, all that stuff. Um, Completed the main story, rolled credits, and then I was just about to delete the game when I'm like, wait a minute, how come some of these stories in my quest log are not finished? Because I thought I did everything and the credits were rolling. And I'm like, some of the stories that you can do in this, the game lists them out for you. Most of it was 100%, but I was like 82%. Like, what did I not do? I look at my map, I don't see anything there. I wasn't sure, so I jump on a GameFAQs, and sure enough, there's 4 secret quote-unquote epilogue missions that pop up only after you finish the game. So I took my finger off the delete button, figured out how to do those, did those final 4, and the only thing that I haven't done in the game is I did not defeat every horde because that is boring and annoying, and we'll get into hordes in a minute. And there's also a secret weapon, which is an homage to the Siphon Filter series. I did not get that because it was also kind of tedious and annoying, so I didn't want to go to that. But
oh my goodness, they should have put a Bubsy 3D like item in there.
that would have been amazing. I don't think they did. I think the only nod is to Siphon Filter, but otherwise, basically rinsed the whole game. Did basically every single thing you could do. So I think you and I are well qualified to talk about this game. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, we're well qualified. Besides those 4 things that you can tell me at the end of the spoiler portion.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to talk about those for sure. Okay, so here's the basics. Like I said, third person, open world, set in Oregon, so it's like hills, mountains. The main thing about this game, I did a little bit of reading while the developers were talking about their devlogs and before the game launched. Their main inspiration, apart from being in Oregon, which is where they set the game, was that I believe Sons of Anarchy, the motorcycle TV drama, which was on AMC, I think. Have you ever seen that show?
Yeah. It's like they love bikers and this show, and they definitely incorporated that heavily into this game.
Big time. I've never seen the show, but I was familiar with it. I mean, it was very popular for a while. So that was one of their main premises. The other premise was they wanted to make a game where it was post-apocalypse, but just like recently post-apocalypse. So I believe in the game, the action starts taking place about 2 years after like a zombie virus gets released to the public. So like nature has not reclaimed the world. Like some stuff is still running, like some of the electricity is still running in some places. Like cars can still be used because they are still in fairly good shape. So it's not like a ruined world, although it is kind of ruined, but it is just like recently apocalypse where you're still, lots of buildings can be inhabited and stuff like that. So recent apocalypse plus Sons of Anarchy, biker drama, that was kind of their starting point.
Yep. Yeah, and I think both of us, it's always been on our radar. I have talked about this on the podcast, but I started it when it first came out. Because again, what does Carlos do? He plays every game as soon as it comes out because I have a problem. And I remember enjoying it, but then getting frustrated with the gas tank, getting frustrated with some of the mechanics that we can talk about in a minute here, and just noping out, as you say.
Yeah.
And knowing that I might come back, but it was just, I was having a good time, but there was enough frustrations and not enough things to cook me to keep playing. And so then I think it was you that you were talking about it on the show, saying like, I think I'm going to go back to this. And because you did, I dipped back in and I got hooked.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand why you noped out. I talked to a lot of people about this game after I got into it. So I only came to the game after I got a PS5. I bought it a while ago, never got around to it. I was in the mood for something big, and I wanted to, still stuck at home because of COVID, all that. I'm like, well, I'm gonna play something I probably wouldn't normally play, and I bought this on sale for like $9 or something a million years ago. So I'm like, oh, let's fire this up. So the PS5 is my first experience with it, but when I went to talk to people who had played it originally on the PS4, or some people had played it on a PS Pro, most of them said that the game had a lot of technical problems. Like number one, both sets of hardware really struggled to run the game. I think, especially in the PS4, where I think their goal was just set higher than the PS4 could achieve, and even the Pro, I've heard, was pretty chuggy in some spots. Also, apparently, it was really buggy. I went back to the Game Critics review of this game. I had totally forgotten that we had actually reviewed this game. I did not do it. It was done by Jared Johnston, good guy, great writer, very opinionated, which is one of the things I like best about him. And he wrote about this game. And when I read his review, I was like, all of a sudden, like, oh, right. Like, his review was one thing that kind of turned me away from the game to begin with, because he listed off like a whole litany of like technical problems, like heads disappearing and people floating and falling through the world and all this crazy stuff. And like, he made the game sound pretty abysmal, and I totally believe him. But 2 years have passed since that time, right? And so not only are we on like way more powerful hardware with the PS5, Ben has had time to patch and fix and rebalance in the interim. So me coming to PS5, I think, is like the optimal Days Gone experience, and I'm really glad I didn't get to it beforehand. But I can totally understand why you might have noped out, or why a lot of people didn't have a lot of really great things to say about this game, honestly.
I think what's interesting, because I didn't have as many technical issues when I played it. I had more kind of just gameplay frustrations, which is something similar when it comes to patches that you're talking about, because, there was, I think, less gas around. Like, your bike needs gas in this game, and if it doesn't have it, it's a really bad problem. You were trying to get around the place. And if you want to fast travel in this game, just quick topic on the mechanics of traveling, even fast traveling takes gas, which I think is, in my opinion, bullshit. But I get the idea they're trying to do realism. But in the very beginning, I just feel like there was very little gas to be had. And I was running around dying from zombies, and I couldn't even get the gas to just get to the place I wanted to get to. So for me, it wasn't as much the technical stuff. I can see that happening, and I know that it did happen. But I think mine was more just like gameplay stuff. But again, like you said, 2 years is a long time. They can perfect some of that stuff. I also went back to it on the PS5, and it ran buttery smooth. I mean,
super smooth.
I think I was playing it on the PS4 Pro, and it chugged here and there. So I saw the chugs, like you jump over a hill with your bike, and when you landed, it might skip or something.
Yeah.
So I definitely had that, but now, no problems whatsoever on these new consoles. And if anything, it's just, almost bug free. Like, it was really, really good experience gameplay wise.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, right? Because I've heard, I don't know if this is a secret or if it's not a secret or what, but I've heard that Ben Studio is hard at work on Days Gone 2, so it makes a lot of sense once people get wind of this, or once they start, beating the drum in terms of PR, that, a lot of people are probably going to go back to the original Days Gone to see what it's all about. And if you're trying to sell people on your sequel, you want your first game looking good, right? You don't want it to be a buggy mess. You don't want it to be frustrating. So it makes sense that they would go back and patch and rebalance it. I mean, in terms of gas, as you say, like as you drive your motorcycle around the map, it takes gas, and you start off with a really small gas tank. You can upgrade it. But yeah, you definitely always need gas. And if you run out of gas, it's really frustrating. I only ran out, I think, one time in 80 hours, and that was because I was straight up fucking around. Like, I was just not being careful. But when I was being careful, there was plenty of gas. I had more gas than I could ever use. Like, it was like every gas station had gas. Usually every house had a gas can out the back. Sometimes you'd be driving down the road and see a tow truck. The tow truck would always have a gas can on it. So I'm sure they must have rebalanced the gas, because I basically never ran out of gas.
Well, okay, let me just say one more thing before we leave this topic.
Yeah.
Because this is a big mechanic thing. Like, you say that a lot to me, and in text and in DM. But the problem is, it's not necessarily the gas amount that's around, which is better, right, than when I played it originally. The problem is the fucking act of it, man. If you're in the middle of a story mission and you're talking about your wife or your really good friend who's in trouble or whatever, and you're like, hold on, and I just hear like this music in the background, like dum-dee-dum-dee-dum-dee-dum-dee. And I go pick up the gas can, and I got to walk over to my bike. Where's my bike? Oh, wait, it's kind of like broken a little bit, and it's down that hill. Oh, and it happens to be by some zombies, so I can't put the gas in the fucking bike. You know what I mean? And then I have to ride the bike away from the zombies or kill the zombies, and then I have to go back to get the gas can. So for me, that thing is still bullshit. Like, I don't care that it's plentiful. The act of doing it frustrated me to no end.
Well, I can totally see that. For me, it just became part of my routine, right? Like I was really into like the survivor mindset when I started playing this game. Like I was really thinking about, check out the area before I just come walking into it. Take a look around, be really careful, be pretty judicious with my items. Scavenge as much as possible. And so it just became part of my thing. Like whenever I would get to a new location, it was always in the forefront of my brain, keep an eye out for a gas can, and then I would find one. And I would either, if it was in an obvious place, I'd be like, okay, gas can over here. Or if it was in like a place I might forget, I would just kind of throw it towards my bike so that when it came back, I would get it. So I made a pretty good habit out of like always keeping my bike topped up. But on top of that, one thing that I did really appreciate was when you do required story missions, like there are some story missions where you have to travel from point A to point B. And those ones, they take the gas usage out. So you have infinite gas when you're on those missions, which is great. I appreciated that.
Yeah, that'd be crazy if they didn't. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it would be a big problem if you were on a required story mission and then you were out of gas and the whole thing. It would just cause way more problems than it's worth. So I appreciated that on the required missions there was no gas, and that was when I drove fucking crazy, right? I was like max speed, doing jumps, like using boost all the time because I didn't have to worry about running out of gas. And then when it was back to the normal mission, okay, be conservative, drive slow, coast as much as you can, which is one thing I think is really neat too. I really like the motorcycle in this game. I think it feels really good to drive. It's really fun. And one of my favorite things that I think I mentioned on an earlier podcast was keeping in mind your gas limit. I would always be trying to rev the engine as little as possible. It became like a little mini game for myself. There's no achievement for it or anything, but I just was like, okay, I'm on a big hill. I'm going to cut the engine. I'm going to just coast, and the wind is whipping by, and you hear the squeak of your brakes, and just try to go like as far as I could without using up the gas to try to like extend the life of my bike. Just a fun little dumb thing that I did, but it was kind of neat that I could do that.
Yeah, you really role played this game.
Oh man, I did. I got into it
because as I'm hearing you, like, and I feel bad, like, if you don't listen to spoiler content, I did enjoy this game. I'm just starting off like really frustrated because the number one bane of my existence is the gas in this game. So minus that, I did like the bike, like you said, the bike experience is incredible. I mean, incredible.
It's really good, really good.
It feels good. The shocks, the way it lands, and for all the guff I'm giving it, upgrading your bike is fun. Like I really did like getting the new kind of front piece so that you can like hit zombies better. Did you finally got that, right?
I got it, but I never ever got comfortable hitting zombies because I really disliked getting jerked off my bike.
Yeah, but it just happens less.
Too many times.
Yeah, it happens less when you get when more of the upgrade in the front.
Yeah, I was just always like avoid. I crashed through them if I absolutely had to, but I kind of went out of my way to like stay as far away from them as possible.
All right. Well, it is pretty jarring when you get dropped off that bike.
It is the worst feeling.
It's like you like remember it always. But no, I really enjoyed the bike experience. I mean, you play this game just for the bike. If you just bought this on sale and just wanted to drive around Oregon, like it's a bike simulator.
It would be fun enough to play just for the BMX action. Yeah, for sure.
Straight up, and you can put paint and decals on it. By the way, we can talk about that real quickly. I finally made my bike at the end, the Death Stranding bike.
Yeah, I didn't know that was even in there. If you get to the end of the game, one of the shops sells a Death Stranding skin for your motorcycle, and your gas tank can look exactly like BB from Death Stranding. So there's like an infant in juice on top of your motorcycle.
Yeah, okay.
It is the weirdest thing.
I didn't do that. So by the way, it's not the end of the game. It's like 3/4 of the way through the game.
All right, pretty close. Once you're in, yeah.
And I got one that just made it look like the Death Stranding bike in general, but there is an alternative one that it puts BB inside your bike.
Yeah, it's weird.
Is super gross.
It's creepy and weird. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't like to do that.
No, I didn't do that one. I just did like the regular one. But yeah, it's such a good experience with the bike. And let's just really quickly talk to the action maybe and the zombie stuff.
Yeah, I was actually just going to bring that up. So apart from the open world, using the motorcycle to get around, you have to scavenge quite a bit. I mean, I was going to say, first off, scavenging, how'd you like it? Was it a drag? Was it fun? Was it fine? Not an issue? What did you find about the scavenging?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like, kind of going back to the role-playing thing, it just felt like an RPG. Like, I constantly hit that scavenge button, right? Like, I was just always, even if I don't need anything, it's just addictive. So it was just like second nature for me. I just always took anything I saw, or, I just kept getting stuff.
And the crafting and stuff was fine for you. Did you notice that you were like frequently running out of things? Because in this game, folks, you can scavenge parts from from wrecked cars or from houses you find. You can make Molotov cocktails. You can make bandages. You can make certain kinds of medicine. You can make bows and arrows, and you can make all sorts of stuff. I mean, for me, I was playing on the easy mode because I just wanted to play an easy and have a good time, and I had a great time. I found there was plenty of stuff all around. Like, what mode were you on, and did you have plenty?
I can't remember if it was easy or normal, but I did have plenty, and it was more like even if there's a lot of resources, this game does a good job of balancing it where you get into a camp somewhere and you still run out. Like they want you to run out here and there, which is kind of interesting back to your role playing of like being in this ruined world and a scavenger. Like you're not always going to have unlimited ammo. This game does a really good job of like realism, and it's like to the fault at times and sometimes to its benefit. And this is an example, like you go to a camp and you think you just loaded up at the camp, you got all this ammo, you put ammo in your bike, you're ready to go. You still might run out.
Yeah,
and what
true.
they make you do is they have guns everywhere because you're taking out people and they have guns. So there was a lot of times where I ran out of stuff, but there was always a gun around. So you just pick something up, and there's always melee weapons everywhere. And the number one tactic I did, and anybody listening before we get to spoiler, if you're going to play this game, get your favorite melee weapon, which I prefer the machete. Take the machete, which is the best one, I think, and just get enough resources that you can always repair it. And you are fine because that machete is killer. Pun intended. It literally just, I use that almost all the time. Like if you do sneaky stealth stuff and get up to somebody, if you're not doing the stealth kill and they find out you're there, you can just literally go up to anybody and machete them. So I did that a lot.
That is interesting. I actually never really used the machete at all.
Oh my goodness, it's so satisfying in a sick way.
I used the baseball bat with nails for a while, and then I came across, I never found the recipe for it, but I found a baseball bat that had like 16 metal blades on the side of it, and then it had a giant sharp gear on the top.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I got that, and then exactly your advice is totally spot on. Like, carry enough supplies to repair your melee weapon, because I think the game kind of thinks you're going to use it, the melee weapon's going to break, you're going to have to pick up another one. That's okay. But that's kind of a sucker's move. Like, you want to keep your best melee available all the time. And I never ran out of my melee weapon. I would always repair it. It was always a top priority to keep it in good shape because it was strong and it always gets you out of trouble. So definitely repair that melee weapon. And since we're talking about it now, let's talk about the combat. Obviously, lots of stuff to kill in this game. There are zombies, although they're not exactly zombies. They're called freakers in this game. And maybe we'll get into the story spoilers later, but they're not your usual staggering around like moaning zombies. They're pretty fast. They travel in packs. There are groups. I mean, I think one of the big PR pushes for this game when it was out was like that these freakers travel in hordes. So they're like, it could be a group of like 20, 30, 40, all the way up to like 500 of them, which is quite a lot, which is like an overwhelming amount of freakers to deal with. But apart from that, there's also other factions in the world. There are anarchists, who are assholes. There are the Rippers, who are kind of these drugged out, kind of like weird, self-mutilating, gross people. There's also just like regular like ambush people. And so there's like also human factions wherever you go. And I think it was really interesting to like have to kind of balance between, zombies over here and then humans over here. And the tactics that you used for those groups were like wildly different. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, like for the humans, they're pretty similar, but the Rippers are more like aggressive because they're definitely like half crazy. And I feel like whenever I went to a Ripper camp, I was in more danger than like just a regular ass, like, hey, we're just some people here, trying to snipe you from afar. I will say this, though. One of the worst cheap shots in the game is the sniper because it's broken. In my opinion, it's broken. Like you can be so far away from a sniper, and I know how that's how sniping works. Before anybody takes my head off, pun intended, but it's bullshit in this game because like I either dodged or was driving my bike away from it. It just seems like if you're in the vicinity of a sniper, the AI just knows how to hit you perfectly, and it takes a lot of damage too. So I hated the snipers in this game. Other than that, yeah.
So are you referring to the sniper like trap, or just like snipers that you just come across in a camp?
No, like in those towers. Like there would be like these snipers up in a tower, and they seem like they would always like get you. Like there was trap ones like around the road.
Yeah. That's what happened to me most of the time. Like when I saw snipers in a tower in a camp, I could usually like hide, and I thought like avoiding them was pretty easy. But when I was driving, Some of the factions in this game will set up ambushes for your main character, Deacon St. John, who we actually haven't mentioned until just now. And as you're driving, like sometimes you'll just be like driving, and then Deacon will say something like, "Oh shit, a sniper!" And I'm like, "What?" And then
Yeah,
you
and
get
you're already
blasted
hit.
in the head. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
already
yeah.
hit. So
I think that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, and that feels bullshit because I'm like, I didn't even know, But I
yeah,
guess whatever.
those traps are rude. Those traps are rude, man. Like the one of my least favorite traps is the wire across the road trap where you're
Oh,
driving,
yeah.
and then like it's like a clothesline across the road, and then you catch that. I mean, that would kill you in real life. Like you would just be fucking dead if you
I
hit that at
know.
full
Your
speed in
bike
real
goes
life.
flying and you
Yeah, it
somehow
would
are
cut your
alive,
fucking
but
head off.
yeah.
But like the ambushes in this game, I think are really one of the most interesting things because I didn't realize those were there until I had played like a fair amount of the game, and I thought I had found the rhythm of the game. Ride away from the zombies, get back to camp, find my supplies. Like I was all good. I was in a groove, and then out of nowhere, I hit one of those clothesline traps, get yanked off my bike. I'm like, what the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Like people come rushing from behind their hiding spots, start bum rushing on the street and stuff. Like that's the first time that happens. That is fucking scary and super disorienting and weird, man.
Yeah, and I'll say this to give it credit. It is, yeah, it definitely shakes up the whole gameplay loop because you're not just like in a third person game where you know which location you go take out and then you go back and rinse and repeat. It does shock you and you're like, wait, what the hell? So I appreciate that they put him in there. I just don't like the sniper one because I think it was every
Yeah,
time bullshit.
I agree. I would always try to like dodge or like juke left or right or maybe speed up or slow down, and like no matter what I did, if that sniper had a beat on me, it was over. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like video gamey. You know what I mean? Like that one's the most video gamey because it's like, oh no, you've entered the area, the cone of surface, the cone of
yep,
vision sees you.
yep.
You're shot. That's it. So
Yeah, that was pretty rough. I will say though, it is good, and one of the most satisfying feelings is making your world literally safer by clearing those camps. If you go and find out where those people are camping, kill them all. There's no more ambushes on the road, and I really enjoyed doing that. Like I totally 100% cleared out all of the ambush camps because number one, it sucks to get ambushed. Number two, like it's changing the actual world. I mean, not super drastic, but there's a big difference between I'm riding down this road and I'm scared someone's going to get me, or I'm riding in this road and I'm confident because I've killed everybody already. And like
yeah,
I
yeah.
really I enjoyed having like a clean area and just going back and forth was really nice. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah. Real quick to the before we leave the combat part of it, which we haven't talked about the zombies in quotes, but when it comes to the humans, there's a little bit of a moral decision or discussion to have about killing tons of people, and I'm always frustrated, and I think you are too, about Uncharted and those kind of games where you do kill 700 people. In this one, it's interesting. I really only attacked people that were mean towards me. Like
Sure.
rippers are total assholes and they want to take over like the whole area. And then there's the anarchists who do too, but anytime there was a mission where go take out anarchists or go take out just regular campers who are kind of being a dick,
Yeah.
I generally didn't, which is interesting. I kind of role played how I would be in that situation where I wouldn't just go be like, you know what, we should just go kill all those people. I definitely took out every ripper I could find because they were mean and they hurt my friend. But it's interesting. I didn't take out all the people. Do you know what I mean?
It's an interesting question, right? And I know that some articles have brought this up, and of course, it's like a general topic of discussion in games in general. But most of these, in fact, pretty much all of these missions were not, hey, go kill these people because they're camping over there. It was, hey, these people attacked us, or hey, these people killed somebody, or hey, these people robbed us. So there was always the developers were very careful to always give you a narrative reason why it would be quote unquote justified to go kill these people. And interestingly enough. Like you say, the Rippers are crazy. They all attack you on sight, and they're just like lunatics, right? They'll like douse themselves on flames and come running towards you as they're burning to death or something. But when you got to the other people, like the ambushers or the anarchists or whatever, if you don't do anything and they know you're there, they will often be like, hey, come out. We just want to talk. We're just camping here peacefully. Like they have a whole bunch of barks that they'll say in the middle of the game. And at one point, I'm like, okay, cool. I will take you up on that. You say you're here for peace and you want to just talk it out. I get out of my bush that I'm hiding in and I walk towards them. They take a headshot right off the bat.
Of course.
Of course they do. But I wanted to give them a chance, right? You want to see, are you a man of your word or you're not? And they never are. So
they never are, because that's the video gameness of it. Yeah. Real quick to talk to that, and I was going to bring it up later, but in the future, which is pretty soon from now, there's going to be AI that's more sophisticated, that's using cloud computing, that's going to have, branch trees that are more reactive to what you're actually doing.
Sure,
Like
sure.
this is the future. It's almost here now. But so this is a perfect example of not that, right? Those people are always going to attack you no matter what, and their voice cues are just like triggers, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so it is unfortunate, because it would be really cool if you could be like, oh, we get what you did, and we'll make some amends or whatever. But yeah, they're still all just in quotes bad guys.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it would be super interesting if there were more narrative opportunities for you to either A, attack and kill the camp, or B, befriend the camp, or C, truce with the camp or something. Like, I would have really, there is not much of that. Like, it's a pretty clear cut. You're either with the good guys or the bad guys. That is absolutely true. But it would have been very fascinating to maybe like have a dilemma where, hey, these campers robbed us, and then you get out to the camp, and of course they're starving or something, so they had a reason to rob you. Could you let them go? Like, could you maybe make friends with them? Could you incorporate them into the camp? I mean, having more of that kind of moral decision would be pretty cool. Although it's interesting because Days Gone is not necessarily that game in that it tells a very set story. Like you are the character Deacon St. John going on this mission. We'll get into the story in a second. But they don't give you choice, right? There's no ethical choices. You either do a mission or you don't, but there's no deciding how the mission goes, right? Like, it's either you've completed or you fail. But the developers have already predetermined, if you succeed in this mission, that means you have killed every single person here. Like, there is no negotiation. There is no moral judgment. It's not Mass Effect where it's like you let the aliens go, or you befriend them, or you have sex with them. Like, there's no three-way choice, right? It's either yes or no. So,
There's no having sex with the campers who are mad at you.
No,
hey, wait,
no.
come on out for a minute. Let's just smoke a joint and let's just chill out. Let's talk this out. How you feeling? No, real quick before we leave that topic. One, I think that would be a fucking amazing, and
that would be super good. Yeah.
Well, no, not the sex part. Yes,
not the sex. No, the choice.
The choice, right? Okay,
yes,
and the sex part, whatever. But in the future, you have this game, this type of game too, right? An Uncharted, Days Gone, where when we're talking about it in the spoiler cast, just like Skyrim, which I always bring up because that's the number one, we're gonna have different stories.
Yes,
and that'll be amazing. So, but back to this real quick, and to finish kind of this choice discussion, I will also give them credit and say that they're not all killing missions, right? We talked about this on a previous podcast, but just capture a guy, bring him back, capture a guy, leave him for somebody else to go get, race this one guy down and catch him. Those are all just
multiple
catching.
Rescue missions. There's tons of rescue missions.
Rescuing, yeah. Like finding things that we need, like we lost something, go find it. So there's that too,
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting that this game definitely takes narrative control away from the player. Like, they are telling the story of Deacon St. John. They want to know what beats he's going to go through. So there's no like path branching, right? Like, there might be like a micro branch where you missed one of the time-sensitive missions, and so you don't see, like, 10 seconds of a cutscene or something. But, like, the overall beats, like, it's not like Mass Effect or something where there's, like, you could end up with, like, a totally different crew at the end of the game, or, there's no branching. Like, you're always going to get to the same place, which I think is kind of an interesting choice, given that recently, like, so many games are all about choice. Like, let's take The Witcher, for example, where, there's, like, 3 or 4 different endings. They're all, like, super wildly varied. Some of them are early, some of them are later, some of them have people alive, some are dead. This is not that game. Like, this is like, if you make it to the end of the game, you're basically going to have the same adventure that everybody else did along the way, plus or minus a few side missions.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the zombies, though, or freakers, I should say, it's interesting because it's almost similar where you don't have to fight a lot of them. Like, in the set missions, you do, right? There's set missions where you have to do specific things to kill a bunch of freakers. And, like we'll talk about later in the spoiler part, the hordes, which are terrible and ridiculous.
Yeah, super not fun.
But for the most part, if you're going somewhere to get something, retrieve something, you could be sneaky, you can be stealthy. This game has tons of stealth in it.
Lots of stealth, heavy stealth.
Yeah, and you could just go get the stuff you need and take the fuck off. And more times than not, I don't know about you, but I just pieced out. Like, I didn't, Like, I didn't have to sit around and gain XP and to unlock stuff. And I will say this too, for people listening who are just about to play it, I don't feel like I ever had to grind ever.
No,
If you
I
play,
never
because
did
the
either.
game's so long, so because it's so long, you'll be killing zombies here and there, but you won't like have to spend like, I'm gonna go into this town and take out all the zombies. Like I never would do that. If anything, I just erred on the side of like running away.
Oh, totally, dude. Yeah, that was like absolutely part of like my in my quasi role play, right? Like I would get in and out, kill as few people as possible.
Right.
If I didn't have to engage with zombies, I would just like hide in a bush. I'd go around their back. I'd sneak around, hide up on a roof or something, just get away from them. If I didn't have to fight them, I mean, if they were in my path and there was no other choice, I had no problem with taking them out. But it wasn't like exactly like you said. I wasn't going to a town and like clearing the town or anything. I was just like get in, get the thing I need, get out, and just just leave.
Every once in a while, though, a not main story mission, like one of those places where you have to turn the power back on,
Yeah,
the bases, they would have like a mini horde, or at least like,
yeah, yeah.
more than normal. And you go, oh shit, I'm in trouble, And if you want to do that thing, which is an achievement on the little list, which is turn power back on at the station, then you do have to kill a ton of them. So I did that maybe like once, where I had like, okay, I'm going to fight
Yeah.
like 50 of these fucking things. But in general, yeah, I just kind of hightailed it out of there.
Let's pause for a second. I realize at this point that we haven't actually really given the premise of the game, which I think we're probably going in reverse order here. This is not spoiler at all, but just to give the basic setup of the game, who the characters are, what's going on. So you're Deacon St. John. He is a biker with the mongrel motorcycle gang riding out of some town in Oregon. He's got his motorcycle buddy whose name is Boozer. They're kind of co I don't know, members of this motorcycle club. You get some cutscenes that show what happened in the world before it went to shit, and at that point, Deacon was dating slash getting married to a woman named Sarah, and the game basically starts at the apocalypse when the apocalypse is happening. Sarah gets stabbed. Deacon puts her on a helicopter to get her to safety. The helicopter is full, so Deacon has to stay behind with Boozer, and Deacon and Sarah get separated. As the story goes, Sarah gets taken to a camp that's overrun by zombies. She gets killed. Deacon spirals into depression. Him and Boozer become kind of drifters, wandering the landscape. And as the game picks up, you and Boozer kind of have a home base in Oregon at this little like Firewatch tower, and you're just kind of randomly surviving. Like you're just doing missions for people, earning money, earning food, earning bullets, and just basically surviving. So I heard a lot of people say that this story started very slow for them, and a lot of people said they had a hard time clicking with it. How did you find this beginning without any spoilers, Carlos?
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm glad that you brought that up because that setup right there sounds pretty okay, but when you start playing, it does feel slow to me, and that's another reason why I noped out originally. But you do have to give it some time. You have to give it some time, almost like an RPG, where you like let it, get its hooks in. You get to start to meet some people at different camps, and you start, fleshing out some story and a mystery. Like there's a mystery that shows up, and that mystery is pretty much the main thing that will drive the rest of the story. So yes to the answer of I felt like it was slow, and I think that if people just stick with it, it definitely picks up. But in the beginning, I was like, why am I even doing this? Like, my buddy's at home, he can't really go out because of an injury. And I'm just kind of like, fighting zombies. And I'm always worried about gas. And, this is the past when I first played it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it was a little frustrating at the beginning because I felt like it was a little slow.
Interesting. I mean, you said it was a little slow. A lot of people I talked to said it was a little slow. I didn't find it to be a little slow, but I think also that probably points to my state of mind, right? Like maybe if I was in a different state of mind, I would have found it slow. But because, I mean, real life here, we're just stuck at home because of COVID still. The world is still, just really devastated by not being able to travel and people getting sick and all this stuff. I was maybe more open to a slower paced or more, I don't know, self-guided experience, I think. And kind of like when I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey recently, where I was just happy to dive into that world and kind of get lost for a while. It was kind of the same for me. Like if I had come to this game wanting to get through it, just like, critical path, get to the end quickly as possible, I could have been very frustrated. But because I came to it wanting just to have the experience, like just to drive the bike around and just to hunt zombies at my leisure and to kind of like establish relationships with the survivor camps around, like I was fine just doing that for a while. Like I was like, this is good enough. Like I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm not in a hurry to roll credits. So for me, it was fine, but I can definitely see how people would think it was slow.
Yeah, that's it. We've talked about that many times in the show. It's like where you are in your life when you play
Exactly.
a game,
Yeah,
And for
exactly.
me, it was the same thing. I'm at home too. So I'm like, you know what? Brad, let's fire it up, because I do want to be in this world and I can take the time. So people
Yep.
listening now, I don't know when you're going to play it and when you've heard this episode, but if it's still a lot of staying home time, then, it's a really good world to lose yourself in.
Agreed. Agreed. I think we have covered most of the basics, unless there's anything I'm forgetting. Anything that we should mention before we get to the spoiler warning, Carlos?
No, I think that's it. Like, that's the story bit, that's some of the mechanics, and I think we should just jump right in.
All right, so this is your thermonuclear triple ply super special story spoiler warning. Up until this point, we have given you no spoilers whatsoever. It's just been mechanics and gameplay, general thoughts, that kind of stuff. But from this point forward, we are going to peel back the curtain. We're going to peer back there. We're going to talk about the story, the plot twist, the character developments, the secret epilogues. We're going to talk about literally everything in this game, and it's going to be completely spoiled. If you have played this game already, please join us for this portion. If you're thinking about playing this game, which I think you should play this game, don't spoil yourself, because there's lots of really cool stuff coming up. Don't ruin it. And there's actually like way more story than I thought there was going to be. Would you agree?
Yeah, way more story.
There's way more story than you think there's going to be. So please, don't ruin yourself. Just come back, like bookmark this, and play the entire game. Come back in 50, 60, 70, 80 hours. Probably like 80 hours if you're like me. 60 hours if you're like Carlos. And come back after you've rolled credits. Don't spoil yourself. That would be doing yourself a big injustice. But for now, this is the only story spoiler warning you're going to get. And from this point forward, we are going to be talking about it. Starting now. All right, story spoiler is up.
Story spoiler is up. Isn't it crazy? It was just all aliens the whole time.
That was bizarre, dude. And they were undead. That was crazy.
It was undead aliens.
Plus, they were Nazis.
And they were Nazis, and you had to like fight that cow boss at the end. Remember, it was like a cow boss.
God, and then Donald Trump shoots out of his butt. It was gross.
No, he did not make an appearance. We not usher his name this podcast. Let's talk about it. And I have like a little bit of notes in a semi-order.
Okay.
Like kind of like things that I've experienced, and I kind of took notes as I was playing the game. But before we even start, let's just talk about Deacon St. John for a minute. I've mentioned this to you, I think, on an episode that was a non-spoiler episode, but he's a very good liar. And you told me that he has to be, and I understand, because it's the apocalypse. Anybody you say something wrong to, they could like turn on you and you could get killed, and we'll definitely talk about that in this spoiler part. A lot of people do turn on you. But I still think I couldn't do what he does. Like, if it was an RPG for real and I was making a character and it was like more based on me, like I couldn't lie as easily as he does. He's just lying all the time.
I mean, dude's surviving, man. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, you got to do what you got to do. And if you don't know if you can trust people, if you don't know if they're telling you the truth, maybe these other people you meet are trying to like, suss you out and get you tricked up. I mean, you don't want to give away too much, right? With people he's very honest, and I mean, he's not really open. I think he's a pretty guarded guy. Like, he's a kind of a typical emotionally repressed sort of dude. So like his expressions of love and joy are pretty small because he's embarrassed about showing too much, because he's like so American, red-blooded American dude. But yeah, like when it comes to, for example, protecting somebody who might be in danger, he's all about it. Like, he's like, I'll tell any lie that I need to keep my people safe. And, I can relate to that, man. Like, I try to tell the honest truth in my day-to-day dealings, because thankfully we're not living in a zombie apocalypse here. But if I needed to tell some lies to protect my wife and kids, you better believe I'd be spinning some yarns.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm infamously, I can't lie. Like, I'm not saying, it's no judgment against people who can, but I just can't do it. Like, you would know, like, immediately. You'd be like, what are you doing? You sound funny. Your voice sounds weird.
You better get yourself a camp and stay safe, buddy, because I don't want you to be out in the shit, as they say.
You know what? I'll just take it as it comes. All right? How about that? I'm just going to tell the truth, and if it means, like, I got to fight somebody, I'll fight somebody. But I bring it up not just because of the lying part, but, like, it's interesting because his character, just as an overview real quick, like you said, he's just like a man's man, but he's also nervous and scared to say things, not just because of the apocalypse, but it's also like just his personality. Like, a lot of times we get flashbacks in this game, and he's the same way. Like, there's nothing different about how he's not just because of the apocalypse, right? Like, he likes that girl, but he doesn't tell her, or he's being coy, or there's so many times I found it a little frustrating when he would. It reminds me of Lost TV show, and I'll tell you what that means. Because in Lost, a lot of times the characters in that show wouldn't tell the other characters what's really going on. It'd be like, no, it's actually time travel, or no, it's actually this, or I'm actually a mystical being or something. But they would never tell. They would just kind of keep like internal secrets the whole time. And I feel like lots of times Deacon did the same thing where he was like, no, that's it. It's just fine. No, I didn't even do it. Somebody else did it. Like he would just like, I don't know, a lot of that stuff happened in the game where it just seemed like he was just kind of putting things off and not really getting into it. I was like, just say it.
See, it's interesting you bring that up because I actually really like the character of Deacon St. John a lot. I know that some people really did not care for him. I thought he was really well written and very believable and very honest because, I mean, he is like 100% not like me at all. Like, we are not similar. That's not why I like him. I think we are wildly different people. But what I liked about him was he seemed like a very normal, human, relatable person in that, he wants to seem tough. He's like a biker guy, doesn't want to seem vulnerable. Probably got some like internalized homophobia going on or something, has a very difficult time being honest and straightforward with the woman that he loves. Like, he loves her very deeply. He's going to kill 1,000 people to get to her. He'll do anything to save her, but he struggles to tell her that he loves her. Like, he does, but it doesn't come easy. He always like couches it in a joke first, and he uses humor to kind of defuse the situation because he feels very uncomfortable with the truth and uncomfortable with showing his inner feelings and being vulnerable. Like, he is 100% about being protected all the time. This dude will do anything to not be vulnerable. He has many conversations with people he comes across. For example, Ricky, who is at the Lost Lake camp, who's one of my favorite characters.
I love Ricky.
I love Ricky. She's the best. Like, they talk like in many, many scenes, and he's always like got a dumb joke, or he's pushing her off, or he'll do anything to like avoid answering her question. And I don't think it's because he's deceitful. I think he's just scared of being vulnerable and doesn't want to seem like anything other than the tough guy, which, I mean, that is a very common trait in like American males right now. That is totally such a super common thing. I know tons of dudes who are just like Deacon.
Let me say this though. I also love the character, right? So we were in agreement there.
Agreed.
Like, it's such a human character. I'm saying the things I'm frustrated with is because, like, as you play a game, it's such a weird tangent discussion, but you play as this character. Now, you're not, sometimes you really are like acting like yourself. Like, again, role-playing game. You've made the character, you're going to try to act like Carlos, or you're going to act like Brad. Or you're going to act like this version of a character whose name is Aldon or something, but it's still more like you. This one, you're straight up Deacon. You're just like helping Deacon do things. And so for me, it's more like, if I'm going to spend 80 hours with this person, like, it just gets frustrating because I'm like, oh, will he just do the things that I would normally do, But taking that aside and not putting like my own spin on like what I would do in the situations, you're 100% right. He's such a genuine character who has flaws, which is great to play. Like, versus like an Uncharted where like the person seems like a superhero. It's like, I can do no wrong, and all the jokes I say are funny, and I can, take over the world. But this guy's like, and that might be, there's definitely some idiosyncrasies to, Nathan Drake. But I just love this character, and I love his faults, and there are a lot of faults. And I think some of that, remember, he's ex-military too. So there's a lot of kind of like repressed stuff going on there.
Oh, dude, totally. So, he reminds me so much of people that I knew that I went to high school with, or that I know personally, where, and in fact, even some of my good friends that I went to high school with went to the military, and when they got back out, it was like, they didn't talk about jack fucking shit. Like, it was crazy trying to get them to talk about anything. They were just so shut down and so repressed. I mean, and I agree with you. It's kind of like I alluded to earlier in the non-spoiler section where, Ben is definitely telling Deacon's story. Like, there's no choices. Like, you're going along with him, but you're not making choices for Deacon, right? And I agree with you. I think that's pretty frustrating because, like I said, Deacon is not like me. I am not like him. There were many times when I was like, oh my God, will you just fucking say something? Or like, Jesus Christ, will you please give Boozer a hug, for fuck's sake? It doesn't mean you're gay. Just give him a hug. You love this guy. Come on, like, you're brothers. And he just like would not do it. And I'm like, it was really frustrating. From that perspective, where as the player, you do not have that kind of agency over the story, which in many, RPGs or in many open world games, you do have at least a little bit of agency. Like when you're Cassandra in Assassin's Creed, many times you can choose to be, yes, I will romance you, or no, I will not romance you, or I'll be a jerk to you, or no, I won't be a jerk. You don't even get any of that here. You have no choices as to his response or how he treats people. So that was a little bit frustrating. I understand why they did it, because they were definitely telling this one story they wanted to tell. But it is interesting because you don't see that too much these days.
Yeah. Well, going along those lines of the characters, in the beginning of the game, and this is kind of in a linear path, you do a lot of side missions. I did a lot more side missions this time because of what we aforementioned said, where, I have the time to sit down in this world, and
Yeah,
I'm going to be at home, so I'm going to just do a bunch of side missions.
Might as well.
Might as well. And in the beginning, I really didn't want to like align myself with any of the camps, because there's a lot of different camps, and you can basically, as you do work for a camp, you get to unlock things at the camp. And some of that's like really helpful because it's your bike, or it's weapons.
Yeah, upgrades, better guns and stuff, for sure.
Yeah, and then it's sometimes it just feels like you're just doing it for the camp and for story bits.
Yep.
So in the beginning, I did a ton of Copeland stuff just because they were the ones who could give me the fucking gas tank.
Which is the first camp you come across.
First camp you come across. And yeah, the guy who's doing the radio broadcast is, I don't believe in everything he's saying, but at the same time, it's more about just a need. I'm just going to fill this need. But then later, getting to the relationships and the people in this game, was wondering why I had such a frustration with Ada Tucker. And then I played it the second time, and I realized, yeah, she's a dick.
Like, she's a bad person. She's a really
bad person. And this brings up a question. One, yeah, so you agree with me that she's terrible, right?
Oh, she's a terrible person, yeah.
Okay. So she's terrible, but she starts off being nice, kind of. And it kind of like, you're like, ooh, maybe she's going to be helping this girl that I just found or whatever. No, she turns into a dick real quick. Secondly, we talked about this in a previous episode, but why does her camp and even other camps work their people so hard? Like, what the fuck, bro? Here's my little tangent. It's the apocalypse. You guys are all lucky to be alive, and you're lucky to have a camp and be protected and have fucking ammo and guns, and you have crops now. Just fucking chill out. Why are people hitting people? Tell them to work harder and work till 2 a.m. I don't get that part of the game.
Well, I think it's interesting, right? So, like, in Copeland's camp, the first one you get to, he's like a wild survivalist truther kind of guy. He thinks there's always like black helicopters and government conspiracies, but he's
kind of right some of the time.
He is kind of right, but he's also kind of a wacko. Like, he's even a broken clock is right, twice a day. But he, in his camp, everybody's kind of working along. Like, there's nobody who's really like being forced to work. Like, they're all kind of like hunting and helping each other out. Then you get to the Hot Springs camp, which is where Ada Tucker is the boss of that camp. She looks like this kind of like jolly old grandmother at first, but then it soon turns out that she's actually she's got kind of like a slave camp going. You don't know that right off the bat. It's not immediately obvious. But yeah, she's the one who is like making people work so crazy hard and forcing people to stay, not letting them leave. They're beating people up in the camp, which you find out later. And that, that ties into one of the main storylines. You find a survivor named Lisa. She's kind of living off on her own, surviving in this like gross house. She's like running out of food and water. Deacon comes across Lisa and he's like, hey, you can't live out here in the wilderness by yourself. Why don't you come back to camp? And Deacon mistakenly sends her to Ada's camp. And that's kind of what starts that whole story off, right? Because the next time you visit Lisa, she's like, fuck this camp sucks. And Deacon's like, well, why? What's going on? And she's like, they make you work so hard and I hate it here. And at first he thinks it's like everybody's working to carry their own load. Everybody's got to do their share. But then as the story goes on, it is revealed that she's actually like forcing them to work in like a slave situation. So Deacon, helps Lisa get out of there. But it is interesting because then when you get to the third camp, which is the Lost Lake camp run by Iron Mike, it's again more of like working together, but I think it's more of we need to work really hard to survive. So there's a farm. People that work on the farm apparently don't go out on supply runs, and that means like going out into the zombie territory, scavenging buildings and killing zombies. So I guess it's kind of a trade-off where if you want the security of not having to fight zombies, then you got to work real hard on the farm area, or if you don't want to do that, then you got to go out into the shit and fight people. So they had a kind of a weird mix of like, one was like the slave camp, one was like that we're working together as best we can, and one was like more of a, we're surviving hard and everybody's got to work hard. So there's kind of a mix of different types.
Yeah, I would say that's true, but here's my through line that I just felt while I played the game, because we played so many hours of it. You hear so much dialogue. True. Yes, Ada Tucker is a slave camp, and that's stupid. Again, we don't know why she's doing that, because again, my real question is why? Like, why would she do that? Like, there's no reason to do that. There's no benefit to her. Like, she should work someone a little harder. It doesn't make any sense. So to me, I have disbelief of why that's happening. We can just take it offline. Like, I don't understand why that's happening. Secondly, though, even Lost Lake, which is my favorite camp, it turns out to be where you have most of the story bits. It seems like anytime someone's like not doing work, you know, like, ooh, Boozer's going to go on a mission, or you're going to go on a mission. Why aren't you working? Like, that showed up more than not. And I just felt like it was a little too much. Like, yeah, I just took out like 1 million people and brought us a bunch of supplies. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like, don't tell me to go work in the fucking farm. Can't just recognize what I'm doing, you know? But it seemed like at every turn, of course, Schizo, that motherfucker.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say, right? Because the person who yells at you for not working every single time, it's Schizo, who is a second in command at the Lost Lake camp under Iron Mike, and he's kind of like the quote-unquote head of security. He's a douchebag. Like, as soon as you see him, you know he's a douchebag. But every time that you get ridden for skipping work or something, it's always Schizo who's like, where the fuck are you? Why aren't you doing your work? It's not anybody else. And so I think that's kind of just getting to his character where he doesn't like you. He's trying to ride you into the ground. He's picking on you. He's abusing his position. That's kind of where I thought that came from for the Lost Lake camp.
I guess it did come from him. But real quick to that point, I think the other thing that I attached to it, maybe accidentally, is the idea that, like, you know, each camp had their rules. And I'm not a big rules person. And when it comes to, like, you know, this is how we do things here. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like that attached to it as well. So I kept going like, oh, well, this is what I got to do because I'm in this camp now.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a big part of the world, right? Like, they spend a lot of time talking about, you know, getting along with camps, working together, bonding together. I mean, like, whether it's teamwork, whether it's forced or not. I mean, I think that theme comes up quite a bit in this entire game. So I think you're not wrong for saying that. But yeah, I think in this particular case, in the Lost Lake camp case, I think Schizo is like threatened by how competent Deacon is, like how strong he is, like how successful he is. He's also threatened by Boozer, you know, who's also like this tough guy who shows up out of nowhere. And I think he just is like picking on you guys and like, you know, making your life shitty because he can. But, you know, in the case of Ada Tucker's camp, I don't agree with her at all about running a slave camp. But, you know, they even try to, like, give her some justification. Like, when you get to the camp, she's like, oh, these people, they're not working. Everybody's so lazy, and we're going to starve to death, or we're gonna die to the zombies because the fences aren't getting fixed because nobody works. And, you know, I'm not saying that's a justification. I don't agree with her at all. But I do think it's interesting that the game did try to give her some justification instead of having her just be like this, like, raging slave owner kind of person. I mean, in their particular case, they were kind of positioning it as, these people won't work. These people are stealing food from me. These people are stealing my guns. We are all going to die if I don't run it with an iron fist. And again, I don't agree with her, but I do think it's neat that they kind of tried to kind of, it wasn't super black and white. I mean, pretty black and white, but it wasn't 100% black and white.
Yeah, but the actions don't back that up, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you go to the camp, people are working. The one guy just gets beat up every time, which, by the way, should be at least a different AI script. Jeez,
I
have
agree,
it be another person. But it just didn't back up what you're saying. I know, I get that's the premise, but but back to the point of the camps. So this is kind of a mini spoiler, but like,
you can do big spoilers if you want to.
No, I know.
Got the spoiler wording up.
We're getting there. I have an order. All
right.
So to kind of finish off this, like, working with camps idea, though, is in the very beginning of the game, I wanted to be the lone guy, you know, the lone zombie guy who fights zombies. You know, I'm going to take over Deacon's personality, that he doesn't want to get close to anybody anyhow. So I was like, well, let me just do that. But then I had to work with the camp to get my gas tank.
Yep.
Then the second tank, I'm thinking of gas tanks. The second camp, I tried to work with very, very little because I hated that lady and what she stood for.
Yeah, sure.
And they made you here and there, but not a lot. They actually did let you, like, kind of skip a bunch of missions. So for me, I didn't 100% it. I definitely did the least amount of missions with Ada to kind of, in quotes, role play a little bit. And then with Lost Lake, I thought it was really interesting. We'll talk about the characters in a minute here. But I also didn't want to get attached to anybody there. I immediately didn't like Iron Mike. I immediately just was, like, kind of turned off by the vibe and Schizo. I was like, just let me do 2 missions here and leave. Like, I wanted to leave. But I didn't realize that, like, the whole fucking game was attached to Lost Lake.
Yeah, they are going to tell that story, and it doesn't matter what you want. You can nope out of a couple side missions, but you're going to do those missions that tell the story. Yeah. You got no choice, buddy. You're stuck.
Well, let's talk about Ricky. Ricky's such a good, similar to Deacon, such a fleshed out character. The actress whoever played her, incredible. Just such a real, and her in quotes girlfriend, also an incredible actress who I've seen in things before, and I can't remember what she's been in.
I know. I totally recognize her, and I'm like, oh, you're a real actress. I know you from somewhere.
Well, so is Deacon. He's like a huge famous actor, and I don't remember what he's been in, but he's been in a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I love Ricky. So tell me why you love Ricky.
so I love. Well, here's the thing. I love a woman in a game who is a real woman, right? And is not like a fictitious thing to play a certain role. Obviously, I don't want a damsel in distress, unless that the story happens to be that way. But like, she just felt like someone I would talk to, and someone I would get along with, and someone I would like, like similar to a Pan Am in my Cyberpunk game. Like, I enjoyed this person, and I liked how she had toughness, but she had sensitivity, and they let the character jump back and forth between the two. Like there's a really cool moment that she tries to come on to Deacon, and it's such a tender, sensitive, awesome moment that's awkward, and it feels like real life. You're like, trying to pull away, but is she really meaning something? Is she coming on to me? I don't know. And then there's a part where she's mad at him, and she's like giving him, what's for when on the bike, and they're just yelling at each other. I just love the multifacetedness of her.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love Ricky so much. She's like the mechanic of the Lost Lake camp, and well, like you said, when you meet her, she's in a relationship with Addie, who is the nurse. So you think that she's like a lesbian from the get go, and in fact, she has a history with Deacon. They were in a motorcycle club before, and she left, and she kind of alludes to like, oh, I didn't let you guys know I was lesbian because I didn't want to talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. And Deacon's cool. He's like, okay, whatever, like no big deal. But as you get to know her more as you do missions together, she'll accompany you like every so often on a mission, not all the time, but a couple missions. Like Ricky's really interested in getting electricity back to the camp, and she needs Deacon to back her up to like kill some freakers at the power plant, et cetera, et cetera. Like the more you ride out with her, like the more in-depth a person she becomes. Like she wants to know about your history, she shares a bit of her history. Like the conversation just feels really normal and natural, but it also feels like she's probing a little bit, where she's testing Deacon, right? She's like, number one, can I even trust you? And like once trust is kind of established, she's like, well, what kind of a guy are you? Like, are you going to be here if I need you? Are you going to be here for the camp? Are you going to bail first time things go south? Like, and the further they go, like you said, like you kind of find out that maybe she and Addie are not really the greatest fit. Like she likes Addie, but it's not like a you're my one and only forever kind of situation. And she's kind of like, and in like a normal way, right? Like in a normal way where you're maybe not in a super committed relationship, but you're kind of testing the waters, and she's, clearly interested in Deacon. I think Deacon's clearly interested in her because his wife is dead, and so he's got nothing else, and he kind of sees her as maybe an option. But Deacon is a really good guy, and I really liked that he respected what was going on between Ada. No, that's not right. Addie. Yeah. And Ricky, and he was like I don't want to get in the middle of that, and he was kind of like like that to me seemed very real, right? Because you have this moment like you alluded to, like I think one of the best moments in the game, like one of the best written, where Ricky's kind of taking care of Deacon's wounds, and he's got his shirt off, and they've been friends for a while at this point, and Addie's not around, and I think maybe Ricky's a little bit tired of Addie's shit, and maybe they're not in such a great place in their relationship. I mean, how many people have you heard of in real life where they're going through a rough patch in their marriage or whatever, and then their eye starts to wander a little bit. They start to think, maybe this is not the right relationship for me, or maybe they get themselves into trouble that way, rather than simply breaking it off with that person. They start to, I mean, it's a human thing, right? I'm not excusing it. I'm not condoning it. And I just, that's not something that I would do, but it's very understandable, right? It's a thing that people do every single day. And to see Ricky go through that kind of like internal, I'm with Addie, but Addie kind of sucks right now, and we're not really getting along, and we haven't got along for a while, and here's Deacon, and Deacon's a really cool guy, and he's had my back the last couple missions, and here we are all alone, and I'm putting alcohol in his cuts, and I'm pretty close to him, smells like maybe I could, smells pretty good for a dude, maybe I'm going to come in for a kiss or something.
Smells pretty good for a dude.
It's all really well done, dude.
Well,
it's so very believable.
Yeah, it's so realistic, and the point of like, just the simpleness of humanity when two people are near each other, and it's just like one extra touch,
Yep. Yep.
means something a little more, and so she goes and touches them again, and it's so cool how it's done. And also before that, like a couple missions before, they go somewhere and she like takes off her clothes to go into the water, and it's nothing like sexy, but it's more like it's leading up to it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's again, this is a 60 to 80 hour game, and you have these relationships, and it really feels real. Like I love how they do that, and the relationship between her and Addie feels real, and
It
they
does.
fight, you know, and you're like, wait, am I playing a zombie game? I'm like watching like a dispute, which reminded me of like Walking Dead, when Walking Dead had drama points, right? And
Yeah.
it wasn't just about torture porn, which it turned into, in my opinion, but like when it was more like, hey, what does this mean? My relationship's over. My husband's dead. You're here now. What should we do? At some point, Ricky alludes to, I remember the line specifically. She's like, "Yeah, I'm with Addie, but this is the apocalypse." You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and
yeah, it's true. It's a good line, dude.
I know. And he's like, "You're right. You're not wrong." So yeah, beautifully done. I love both those characters, Addie and Ricky. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed Ricky a lot.
Yeah, I think she's really an amazing character, and I think most of the characters in this game, honestly, are pretty good. I really liked Iron Mike as well. I know you didn't care for him as a character, but I think he's really well written. Like I could identify with who he was. He's the leader of the Lost Lake camp. He's like definitely like kind of wanting to be a pacifist in a world where violence is like an everyday thing. He's trying to see the best in people. He's giving people the benefit of the doubt. He's giving them second and third chances when maybe they don't deserve it, and it eventually comes back to bite him in the ass. Like he pays the price for that. But I can understand that character, right? I can see where he's coming from, and he got really mad when people disappoint him because maybe he's disappointed himself for giving them another chance. Maybe he feels stupid that he did that, but he keeps doing it because that's who he is, right? Like he wants to believe in the best of people. He wants to believe that every single person who survived the apocalypse can band together, whether we are in the same group or not. Like, and eventually that doesn't turn out to be true, but I get his idealism. And even though he's a pretty prickly bastard, I think he's a really well done character.
I agree, but he's always the character in zombie movies that dies. You know, like,
Oh, for sure,
and
dude,
so
for sure.
like I, as a person who's watched this kind of entertainment, knew from a mile away, don't trust him because he's going to get us all killed. Secondly, they did him a disservice, that actor slash character, because you can't really reasonably make an alliance with the Rippers. Because we just talked about them. They will set themselves on fire. They will cut their
They're
face.
psycho. Yeah. And
Yeah,
Iron Mike
so
wants to have a treaty with them.
and he wants to have a treaty with him. So that's a problem. Like I think that was a little bit of a far fetched thing. If they would have like delved into the fact that he had this treaty with Carlos, which I want to talk about next, because it's me. Uh,
Spoiler,
it,
it's Carlos.
it's me. I'm in this game. But if they could have showed more of those scenes or something, right? But like we don't even see Carlos until it's too late. It's like a big ultimatum moment.
Yeah.
So I think that wasn't believable to me. And probably the
Just
only
to pause
thing
on that for
there.
a second. Let's pause on that for a second. I think that what you're bringing up is a really good point, and something that actually occurred to me several times during the game, where they're telling the story of Deacon St. John, and a lot of times stuff happens that Deacon is not a part of, and so we have to kind of, as the player, just take it for granted. Like exactly like you said, Iron Mike has been, I don't know, like dealing with the Rippers somehow, and he somehow has established a treaty with these psychos, and Carlos is the leader of the Rippers, and somehow he's got this agreement with Carlos.
It's me.
And you don't see that, right? Like you're not a part of it because Deacon's not a part of it. And so you just have to take it on faith that that's what happened, which is a really weird thing because like in terms of gameplay from the player's perspective, it's not often that we don't get to see and do every single thing as in terms of a story, right? Like most of the time you're the key action maker. You're doing things, you're making choices. And to play a game like this where a lot of times I was like, but wait, what happened to that thing? Oh, well, I guess Deacon wasn't there, so I wouldn't have seen that. Was kind of it made sense perfectly from a narrative perspective, but from a gameplay perspective, it definitely gave me pause more than a few times. And I think this thing with the treaty was definitely one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, they're trying to tell such a huge story, like an RPG.
Oh, massive story.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'm just gonna have to fill these gaps in, and you weren't at that meeting, you know.
Yeah, you can't do every single thing in the whole story. It would take forever, right? Yeah.
Real quick, Carlos tangent. So
Yes.
the Carlos thing is a little bit of I'm upset. Okay.
Why are you so? All right, fill us in.
And not because my name is Carlos, but because I'm not in many games, by the way. There's not many Carloses in games. Most of the time, they are drug dealers, and they are, not unsavory characters, and that I have a problem with that too. But this one I have even more of a problem with. Bend, Oregon, Bend Studios. Because Carlos in this character, or in this game, is the leader of the Rippers. He's supposed to be a real bad dude, and he is a real bad dude. And he does some torture, and he's mean, and he's changed, and he's ex-military, and he's lost his mind, and he's a crazy person now. I don't use that lightly. He's just like mean-spirited and also like violent. Yes. So the problem is his name's fucking Jesse. And his name isn't Carlos, and I'm real fucking mad at the developers for basically, what the fuck did they use Carlos for then? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, there's no reason to use, a Hispanic name in this scenario whatsoever. He's white. He's an ex-military guy. He's going to just take on the facade of Carlos? Like, I'm sorry, but like, if it was a different type of name for a different nationality, it would also be weird. Like, wouldn't it? Like, think of any other nationality and just pick a name that's more associated with that.
I mean, I agree with you, dude. I thought that was really strange. I expected the leader of the Rippers to be called something like Blood Drinker or Colon Cutter or something
how about
like
Jesse?
It was weird, and so the reason that he changed his name, I mean, I guess in the game, I'm assuming they want to show that this guy, Jesse, was reinventing himself, right? So he's no longer Jesse from the old world. He is now Carlos of the new world. I have no fucking clue why he picked Carlos. I agree with you. That seems like a very unusual and strange name to pick. Maybe it was an homage to somebody on the dev team. Maybe it was a reference to somebody from a TV show. Maybe that's somebody from the Sons of Anarchy TV show. I have no idea. It was really weird, and I agree with you. I'm like, when they finally got to that story reveal, and when Deacon meets Carlos for the first time, he's like, wait a minute, you're not Carlos, you're fucking Jesse that I used to know back in the day. That was like, what? Like, why are you calling yourself Carlos? That is so strange.
I'm shaking my head no this whole time you're talking. I'm like, none of those defensive positions I will accept. Like, maybe he did it because of this. Maybe it's one of the developers. Sorry, guys. It's weird. And it's like, I don't want to say it's a racial thing, but it feels like it to me. It really does feel wrong.
I mean, it feels weird. It feels wrong. Maybe it's a reference. Maybe Jesse thought that Carlos was maybe he knew a really cool dude named Carlos growing up and he wanted to be just like Carlos. Maybe it was like an homage in a positive way. I don't know, dude.
I know. He knew a really violent, like crazy person named Carlos. He was like, yeah, I'll be like that guy. I'll reinvent myself as like that crazy Carlos I met once.
It was weird.
It's weird, and I will not accept it. That's the only thing I really am mad about in the game.
Yes, that was very strange.
Okay, so minus that, he should have been called Jesse the whole time, or like you said, Blood Drinker. Like, oh, you're gonna go talk to Blood Drinker? Oh no, it's Jesse. That makes sense.
Yeah, that would have made more. That to me would have made more sense because the Carlos thing was really strange.
Carlos thing's really weird. Anyways, the other thing is Taylor. So later we're just talking about characters right now, but later. And we'll talk about the ending and kind of like 3/4 way through and then the actual ending. But Taylor's another character that I really liked, but ended up being a bad guy.
So tell us who Taylor is.
So Taylor was a guy you meet later in the 3/4 of the way through the game at the last camp, which is basically like the fortress where there's a sergeant and, spoiler, you meet up with your wife.
Your wife is alive.
Your wife is alive, and we'll get to that
Can we just pause for a second here? I mean, dude, you spend... I mean, I don't know about you, man, but like for me, it was like 40 or 50 hours in this game thinking your wife is dead the entire time. And like, I knew, right? Like, you know she can't be dead.
Yeah.
Because that's not how games like this work. But boy, man, they make you work for it and they keep it held back until like so far in the game, dude. I was like, for like 45 hours in the game, it's like, wait a minute, your wife's not dead. I'm like, what? Oh my God. Like, I mean, nuts. That was crazy how long they made you wait for it.
It's pretty deep in there. And yeah, I didn't mean to like just jump into the wife thing right now, but yeah, she is alive. And it does take a long time to get to her.
Okay, so Taylor.
But yeah, but anyways, for other just character bits, like, he's in this one of these last missions or last bases, and he's comic relief. And I love when they do comedy in games because it's so hard to do. And you have a funny actor. I think this actor is probably just funny. And I feel like he's also recognizable. And he's just like this guy who happens to be there and kind of a recruit, but he also doesn't understand why they're doing all this stuff and why they're being so militaristic about it. And he's just kind of going along for the ride. and I loved him off the bat. Like I was like, he's a funny guy. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to be like the second or third or fourth in command. Like he'll never be like the main head honcho. And when they're doing the recruitment, remember everybody holds their hand up
Yep.
to be like, yeah, I'm one of the new people.
You pledge into the new camp. Yep.
Yeah. And he like just kind of holds his hand up. He's like, does anybody care that I'm here? And it's hilarious. Like every line he said, it was like really, really good. And I was like laughing. Then they just turn him into a druggie, like this guy who can't be trusted and turns on everybody. And I just was frustrated about that because it was about to be comedy and they did do some good comic bits. But I don't know about you, but it's sorely missing from games for me.
I mean, I agree. And I think that was one of the interesting parts where they decided to. They could have expanded on that. I think, okay, by this point, you've probably been playing the game 40, 50, 60 hours. So I get it. They probably want to like get the game to end before everybody, just gets burned out on it. I get it. I was still going pretty strong by this point. I could have gone longer in this particular game, but I get what they're doing. And like, you're right. Like they introduced Taylor. He's goofy. You're at this new camp. He seems like a friendly face and you don't really know anybody. It seems like, maybe a good dude. Maybe he's going to be your bro. Who knows? And then he turns out to be this druggie, and he ends up killing the camp doctor. And it's weird because the camp doctor is also somebody who could have been a really cool character as well. Yeah. He had, this background, and, it seems like he wants to be friends with Deacon. Seems like maybe they're going to respect each other. Maybe they could have a good alliance going. Seems like maybe you're going to take the doctor out into the shit and maybe, go on a couple missions with him. Seems like he's going to be a bro. And then, before you know it, like Taylor wants some of the oxycodone that the doctor has. The doctor gets killed, and you're not there. Again, it's like it's a thing that Deacon is not privy to. He's off doing a mission, and when you come back, it's like, oh, fuck, Taylor killed the doctor. And you don't see it, and it's weird because it happens so quick. I was totally thinking you were going to get a couple more missions out of Taylor, a couple more missions out of the doctor.
Yeah.
And they truncated it. I think they could have really gotten some drama out of that. But again, by this time, you're like 50 hours deep in the game, and I think they were maybe not sure about how much further or how much more patience players would have had if they decided to go on this jag with these two guys.
Here's my point then is, and I bring it up now before we talk about the ending, because I wish, like you said, this is 40 hours in, right?
Yeah,
I wish at hour 10, like a Taylor would have popped up, right?
Yeah.
Because this whole game is heavy duty stuff, man. It's like depressing and dark, and there's some moments of light, but not many. And Ricky has some really great moments of light, including, remember when they turn the power on? That's a magical moment.
That's a great moment. Great scene.
So
great
cool.
Scene.
So, but they needed more of that. And I feel like Taylor's a perfect, and whoever the actor is, just wasted. I feel like it was wasted because, like you said, it was truncated and probably a development cycle as well. Let's be realistic. They were probably like, they had to cut some stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure they cut some stuff. I'm sure
they did. Maybe 4 other missions, So it just felt shortened, and I think they would have introduced him earlier. I would have loved it because
I agree.
I love the comedy that he was laying down. And then one other character I want to talk about, and then we can talk about the ending, is Schizo, because that motherfucker.
Dude, I hate that guy. I wanted to kill that guy from the get-go. And
the get-go.
He's a weasel. He's like second in command. He's like hungry for power. He's kind of like shit-talking Iron Mike behind his back, so you can't really trust him. Deacon like totally blows him off from the beginning. He knows he's like no good. And man, that fucking guy, dude. That fucking guy.
Yeah. And the fact is, like, he keeps coming back up in the game, and we'll talk about the ending, how he pops back up there. But I think that for all of them, how much I don't like him, they did a great job, right? Like that actor, like whoever they picked. Again, we're talking about actors here, and like really great performances. Like that Schizo guy was one of those people you love to hate.
And I fucking hated him, so good job, Mr. Actor.
Yeah, yes. Well, seriously. Like, we've played games where they're cookie cutter characters, right? Or they're the bad guy who's like so paint by numbers. I will get you, blah, blah, blah. This is like someone you could see being that person. And you're like, you're, like you said, a power hungry guy who's just going to fuck everybody over and pretend to be the nice guy. And you go on missions and you're like, wait, is this guy on my side or not?
Oh, but yeah. And they did a pretty good job of like threading that needle, right? Because you see this guy, he seems like a fucking douche. He's going to betray you, but then he starts acting solid for a while. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I was wrong about you. And then he like fucks you over. You're like, God damn, you fucking asshole.
Fucking Schizo.
Fucking Schizo. And then he gets solid for a while again. And they did a really good job of like showing Schizo kind of poking and prodding and looking for weaknesses and seeing what he can get away with. And you never quite knew where you stood with him. And for me in real life, I stay far away from people like that.
Oh
If I can't
yeah.
count on you, you got no place in my life, right? So I would never have anything to do with a schizo. But in this case, you have no choice, and you just fucking don't know with this guy whether he's just a weirdo jerk and you can actually trust him, or if he's actually kind of double dealing you. Of course, he stabs you in the back, but like up until that point when it's confirmed, like I don't know about you, but I was like, God, I just don't know about this guy. Like I feel like he's scum, but maybe he's not scum, and he is scum. Okay, but up until that point, I was genuinely questioning.
Yeah, that again, that's brilliant on their end, and also brilliant name choice. You just like every time Deacon goes fucking schizo, I'm like fucking schizo.
With
You're
a name
like,
like that, I mean, he could not be a good guy.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just jump to the end because I think there's a lot of stuff that happens in the in quotes end because remember it doesn't end right away. And we've kind of just discussed the different characters, and there's a lot more characters as you play through it, or you've already probably played through it if you're listening to this. And there's a lot of missions, and then near the end, you surprise find out that there's a real good chance that your wife is alive. You've kind of like thought about it. You've kind of decided she wasn't, and then now you decided she is again. And also not just fucking Schizo, but fucking O'Brien. Fucking O'Brien.
Yeah. So O'Brien is the guy. So he's the guy who took Sarah away when Deacon very first put her on the helicopter to be taken to the hospital. O'Brien was the guy staffing the helicopter, and you meet up with him somehow. I forget. Like you see a helicopter or something, and you run into O'Brien again, and you're like, "Hey, you're that motherfucker who took my wife away back in the day," and you kind of have a relationship with him. So like the main story is like you're kind of meeting with O'Brien. O'Brien is still working for Nero, which is kind of like a CIA sort of a agency. They're kind of like flying around in helicopters. They've clearly got supplies. They're working with the skeleton government. And he's the one who's like, well, if you help me, I'll help you get back in touch with Sarah. I'll find out what happened to her. Maybe I can find the records or whatever. So that's how you eventually get back on the trail, right? You find O'Brien, he's still alive, and then he leads you to Sarah.
Fucking O'Brien. Yeah, because he's a douchebag because he makes you do stealth missions, though. And I hate those missions so much.
So that's why you don't like him, because he's actually not a douchebag, but you just think he's a douche because he makes you stuff.
Okay, no. He's also a douchebag because not necessarily maybe the character, but the developers make you do missions that aren't really part of the story. He's like, "Can you go find some information for me?" And if you think about it, most of the stuff you're getting for him isn't really helping. Like that's why I say fucking O'Brien. It's
it's helping O'Brien. It's not helping you.
It's helping O'Brien. So fucking O'Brien. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't want to do the stealth missions either, but also the stuff I'm doing for him. He's like, "Can you just do one more mission?" And I'm like, "No, dude. Just tell me what you know, and then I'll leave you alone." Like,
sure.
Yeah, fucking O'Brien. Anyways, you do use some of his information and basically get to this last camp. Which is a fortress. You get in there, you find your wife, and just like me and you were like texting and DMing, like we thought this would be this really cool moment, and it fucking wasn't. It was really weird. It was awkward. You meet your wife. She's like, "I can't really talk right now," and you're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I spent 45 hours in a video game to meet you. I think you can talk right now," and you just have to accept, which I kind of like too, by the way, that you're not going to have this bullshit like romantic moment, and life has got weird, and you have to go do other things now, and then like later maybe try to break her out, and maybe you guys can be together.
Totally. I mean, so keep in mind, I mean, I agree with you like 100%. Like you're playing 45, 50 hours, you get to Sarah, you're like, finally, and then in typical gamer fashion, which I admit to, I was like, oh, we're gonna I don't know. It's gonna be a great reunion. She's gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. We're gonna kiss. It's gonna be, we're gonna talk. And no, man, none of that shit happens, dude. Because again, more than 2 years have passed by this. In fact, I think by this point, it's like 2.5 years. By the time that you meet Sarah, you've been thinking she's dead this whole time. She thought you were dead this whole time, right? And so she's been in this camp working with these people the whole time. Tough situation where everybody is shit talking her, clearly misogynist to her. Like everybody's like, talking about how she looks and they want to like bang her, and she's also like a scientist. And I mean, it's got to be hard, right? She's got this going on. She's not in a safe place. And on top of that, it is, I mean, I don't know if you want to reveal this or not, but like she's also got this other stuff that's been on her mind the whole time. After she got to the camp, she realized that she is a botanist, which they go into like way earlier in the game. But it is revealed that the lab that she was working at while she was dating Deacon is the one that was kind of responsible for the zombie virus. And she realizes that in the interim when she thinks Deacon is dead. And so she's taken on all this guilt. Like she's like everything that's kind of happened is kind of my fault, or at least part of my fault, or I had a hand in it, and I'm working in, I'm trying to fix this, and all these guys won't stop talking about my fucking ass, and everybody wants to fucking bang me, and I don't want to bang anybody, and I'm scared, and I'm nervous, and I don't feel safe here, and this is shitty, and also I think I caused the fucking apocalypse, and I feel bad about that. So she's got like a lot on her plate, right? And so when Deacon shows up out of the blue, she looks shocked. Deacon looks shocked, but then pretty quickly it seems clear, like she kind of signals to you quietly, like, you know, like, no, man, don't say nothing now, because this is not the right time. This is not safe. This is not cool. And it sucks. Like, that is like the biggest fucking like screeching halt to like an emotional buildup I think I've ever felt in a game. Right?
Yeah,
like,
ever in any game. Yeah, me too. I think so too. Because we were both like, we're gonna get through this game. You know, we're invested.
Totally.
So because we were so invested, you get that moment and you go, it's not what I thought. So I'm gonna say two parts of this. I feel two ways of it. One, kudos to making us both feel something we haven't felt in the game.
Oh, dude, hardcore.
Right? Because, I mean, we play games for these moments. Like, that's really cool. Like, I like that happened. The other part, though, is I don't believe it. So, like, in the world that is there, you know, like, I don't believe that character would have done that. Now, I know that she's feeling all these feelings of causing the apocalypse. And I know that she thought Deacon's dead. But think about 2 years. If I think about an ex-girlfriend 2 years ago, I mean, there's still something there. Even if I thought she was dead, I don't know. I just feel like 2 years isn't long enough. Also, everybody at that camp, most everybody is terrible, right? There's like a lot of like militaristic type people, including the leader, who is pretty much like, again, like a Walking Dead TV show.
Yeah, like a religious psychopath, dude.
Someone crazy. And you can't follow that person with any sort of sensibility in your mind. So, well, I understand what they're going for, and I appreciate what they did. I still don't know if the character would do that, because there's just so much going against it. I don't know. It felt a little bit hard for me to believe that she would deal with all that and be following this crazy leader.
I mean, I think that the direction they went was a good one and a really interesting one. Like, because, like you said, I don't know if I've ever felt that in a game before. I don't know that any game has tried to pull that before. I agree with you. I think there should have been more recognition, because they genuinely loved each other, right? Like, they were in love. They were very happy, and you know, she thought he's been dead this whole time. I think for me, I think it would have worked, and it kind of did work, because they do spend a lot of time with them later on as the game progresses. But I think at least initially, it would have sold it to me better if she had kind of played up the whole, it's super not safe to talk right now, we are not safe right here. If they had given it a little bit more of a danger to show the player, like, hey, I still love you, but I can't talk to you right now because we're both going to get killed or something, or maybe, you know, there's too many ears around, people are going to catch us doing whatever. That kind of would have sold it to me a little bit more. But I think what the game does instead is they kind of lean more on her guilt of causing the zombie apocalypse, which you don't know at that time, but she is thinking about the guilt, and she's so busy with like trying to make amends for causing the freakers to come in existence, that she's kind of like super preoccupied, which I get, but I think I agree with you where it didn't quite work for me. I think they could have played it a little bit differently, because I agree with you. I think a little bit, some tears maybe, or maybe just a little bit of like a, meet me at midnight or something, or
exactly.
I really want to talk to you, but we can't talk right now because we're going to get a bullet in the head or something. Something like that would have been okay. The way they played it, I think, was maybe slightly off target for me.
Yeah, the biggest problem is they attach game mechanics to it too. So they go, in order to make this game longer, which they didn't need to do, you go do missions for her. And I'm like, that's the wrong fucking move, man.
Yeah.
Because that literally also takes you out of the game, and you're going like, wait, can't we? And smartly enough, later on, they do a mission where you drive with her, and then you get to fucking like have sex in a cabin, and it's fucking cool.
You rebuild,
and,
you rebuild, you reconnect.
Rebuild
which is
it. All that could have been done earlier, because I just feel like you spent so much time getting there, then you basically are put on hold.
Yes.
But for, like you said, not for like a dangerous reason, but just because she's in a different headspace now, and it just didn't feel right. So
I agree, dude. Man, Matt, the first mission you do after meeting Sarah, and then she's like, you got to do this mission. That was the most miserable fucking feeling in the world, where like, here's this person you spent 40-50 hours finding. She's like, I got time for you right now, we can't talk right now, and please go get me these 5 weeds over by the lake or whatever.
Oh,
And then you got to go fucking do the mission. And I'm like, what is going on here, man? Like, this
yeah.
is very strange. They do come back to it. They do fix it. I feel like it gets to a good place eventually, but I do 100% agree that like that initial meeting and how that initial like emotional response happens, it doesn't feel entirely 100% dialed into me.
Again, I know we're nitpicking because games are fucking hard, just like movies. So take it with a grain of salt as you're listening. But it's because they've done so many things well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they did so much stuff that is believable. We just talked about Ricky, and we talked about fucking Schizo, and all
Yeah,
these
so
different
much of it is
characters.
totally on point, dude. Like bang, 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 like so good. Okay, so here's another example of a really strange directorial choice. I'm going to ask your opinion on this, Carlos. So before you find Sarah is still alive, when you still think she's dead, there's one mission where Deacon needs to go to a church, and it's the church where he got married, so it causes him to have a flashback. And so they go in this long flashback about him and Sarah. They're I don't know, reminiscing and the whatever. They're getting ready for the wedding. They do the wedding. It is like the sweetest, most touch. I was so touched, and I thought that scene was so perfect. I'm like, oh my god, this is like so emotional. And I didn't cry. Maybe I thought about perhaps crying. I didn't cry, but I was like, man, this is like such a well done scene. But in the middle of this extremely emotional, touching, possibly tear-jerking scene, you get yanked out of your reminiscence because like 5 random bikers show up and you got to kill them because they were just driving down the road and saw your motorcycle. You kill them, and then you go right back to your reminiscence. And I'm like, oh god, you
Yeah.
totally fucked that. Did that bother you?
It didn't bother me as much, but it felt out of place because I was like, why are you taking me out of this moment to
Oh
go
god, it was
just kill people?
crazy. Why did you interrupt that whole dramatic build up to kill 5 rando losers and then put me back in it? That was so strange.
Yeah, it was strange, but I did like the ending because you get to like burn down the church and go like, that's it. That memory's over. And I like that a lot.
I mean, that whole sequence was good, except for killing 5 rando dudes in the middle of it, which was like the
Yeah.
most weird thing ever.
Yeah, there's a couple moments like that again where
Yeah.
I don't know why they're adding extra gameplay because we're talking about a long game.
Yeah.
So, and this might be higher ups, again, just similar to Cyberpunk and other things. There are people that are not just the people working on the game, but other people that come in or creative directors and they go, you know what? We need another fucking fight scene here. So who knows who made that decision? So I agree with you.
Yeah.
I will. Let's also talk about that sergeant character just for a half a second. Obviously, he's terrible. The sergeant.
Which sergeant? Sergeant Corey?
Who's the last main zealot? Crazy person who like is doing a holy war. Who's in charge.
The leader of the camp, the leader guy, not the sergeant
Yeah.
guy, but the colonel or whatever. The colonel.
Colonel's the word. Yeah.
Colonel something something. Yeah, Sergeant Corey is the black guy who is pretty cool.
No,
The
he's
colonel,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, the colonel is the religious guy who's got the Bible. Yeah, that guy.
So, but by the way, just speak to Sergeant Corey. That we said that's his name, Sergeant Corey.
Sergeant Corey, yeah.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I didn't want to like him because obviously he's got Sarah's ring, and I'm like, what's going on?
Well, yeah, like you should explain that. Like explain that when that happens, because that's a pretty big moment actually.
Yeah, in the first camp, before you meet this crazy colonel, you meet the sergeant, and again, these are all new camps for you, and you're just trying to find your wife, and you know she's here, so you're frustrated, you're freaking out, you want to find her, and this guy that you meet has got your ring that you gave her, and he's just wearing it like all regular. You're like
like
motherfucker,
it's nothing. Yeah,
like it's nothing, and you don't bring it up, and again, Deacon doesn't even like fathom it, doesn't even like look at it, doesn't say what are you doing with my ring. He just like looks elsewhere and says there's nothing wrong here, and that's when he goes into another huge lie spiral when he says he doesn't have a lady and he doesn't have a picture of her and all that stuff. But yeah, later on, he turns out he just happens to have the ring because Sarah was at the camp. And
but what a moment, right? What a crazy moment. Like you're coming for your wife, you think she's at this camp, you meet this guy. It's a super unique ring. Like there's no way it's anybody's ring other than yours. And when you see it on this guy's finger, you're like, I mean, I don't know about you, dude, but I'm like, oh my god, like is she dead? Is this her new husband? Did she get married? She thought I was.
Is
I was
this
like,
her new
fuck,
husband?
What is going on?
No, I was more like, do I have to fight this guy like right now?
I mean, it was crazy. You don't know what was going to happen. That was a really interesting moment that really threw the story for like a hard left turn because unexpected. Yeah. What does it mean? Who knows? Like, it was crazy, dude. Crazy moment.
But what's interesting, and I'm going to come back to this in my ending, my final thoughts, is that there was a lot of characters in this game. Again, kudos to the developers that I didn't want to like, and then I ended up liking. And he was one of them. I was like,
Yeah.
he's a sergeant guy, military. I don't care. I don't care what you guys are doing here. I don't believe in your cause. You know, I hadn't even met the colonel yet, but I just didn't even already believe them. I was like, what do you guys think you're trying? You know, like it's crazy out there. So I didn't want to like him near the end. He sacrifices himself. He does all these really good things for you. And he's a nice guy. And I did missions for him. So yeah. But no, the colonel, total terrible person. And he literally calls people that he doesn't like lowlifes and says, similar to a Trumpian person we might know,
Yes.
he literally says the problems of the world are lowlifes. And he doesn't really say what that means or what types of people there are, but just people that he deems unworthy or like, you know, unworthy essentially. And he literally says it's a holy war and he goes fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I definitely did not like that guy, but I did think it was interesting because when you see Sergeant Curry with his ring, with your ring on, immediately you're like, you might be an okay guy, but I'm gonna have to kill you at some point, right? And then like you meet the other scientist who kind of works with Sarah, this other guy who is kind of a douche, but kind of he's okay.
Oh, you're right. It's similar. It's like I wanted to hate him right away. Yeah.
Yeah, like you think he's a jerk, and he kind of like it seems like he's nice, but then he's an asshole to you, but then he's like nice again, and then he kind of chill. Like and they do a lot of this human characterization where no one is entirely black or white, no one is entirely good or bad. You know, even the worst characters I think have maybe like one or two slightly redeeming qualities to them. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I mean, they do go out of their way to try to make all these people human, which I really appreciated, and it just made them so much more believable, and it made the whole situation so much more believable. Which I think, again, kind of getting back to your earlier point, would have made choices in this game so incredibly nail biting if there were choices to be made. Like, can you imagine going out on a couple missions with Skizzo? You think he's a fucking douchebag, but then he has your back for like the next two missions, and you're like, oh, maybe I was wrong about him, and then you have to make a choice: help Skizzo, don't help Skizzo. Like, how fucking tense would that be, dude? Or like with Sergeant Curry, you think this guy might be your wife's new husband. Are we friends? Or is this going to be a three-way? Do I got to kill him? What's going to happen? And then if you had to make a choice, help Curry, don't help Curry. Like, dude, that would be a crazy, tense, nuts decision. Unfortunately, you don't do any of those things, but how human these characters are, that would have made the choices so hard.
Dude, I tell you what, I would have made all the wrong decisions. Because the scientist you just mentioned, he's the one who was like, man, she's got a great ass, right?
He does. He talks about wanting to bang her and stuff.
Wanting to bang
like,
Sarah. And I'm like, okay, fuck this guy forever. And then later, I ended up like, in quotes, kind of befriending him a little bit. Yes. And I went and got him his MP3 player. Did you get him his MP3 player?
I totally got him his MP3 player.
I was like, thanks, dude.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen if you didn't get it. I mean, clearly there must be a slightly different ending if you don't get it to him. But he turns out to be an okay guy. Like, he started off as a douche, but then he was like, oh, you know, he was only surface douche, and then beneath that, he was a pretty decent guy. So it kind of worked out.
Real quick, we're pretty much at the end. We'll talk a couple things, then we'll talk about your epilogues. But at the very last few scenes, there's obviously the horde thing we can talk about. But before we talk about the horde, when you're going off to do like one of these last missions, I noticed a lot of the cutscenes that I had, at least, were low poly. Did you get some of those?
Not really. Like, what you mean with character models and stuff?
Yeah, like, and the truck had like no texture on it.
No, I didn't have that problem.
Ooh, well, I'm thinking because in QA, you're in like an RPG, hour 60, and things are gonna slip through the cracks. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So there was definitely some weird cutscenes that had no textures.
No, I didn't get that at all. My playthrough was technically flawless, except for one moment where I did a giant jump off of a ramp into like a valley, and the game was like trying to render the valley, but I was moving too fast, and it chugged for like a second. But that was the only problem I had.
I only saw one during one of our last, like you're getting that big truck ready, remember? And boozer and stuff, and it was like all the textures were missing from the truck. Anyways, besides that, before we leave the last story bits, the horde bit that we're both mad about, I think hordes, again, really don't do anything for me in this game. They're only frustrating. I like at times when they're used in a story where you have to deal with them, and they kind of give you that fear, and that's cool. But the way that they put them on you at the end of the game in this last map, they essentially give you a million side missions where you could kill all these hordes. You never would want to do it. I mean, you have a masochist. It's not fun. I think that they do a really bad job of this upgrade, which is called napalm, where you feel like it's going to be a badass upgrade, and then it's really just a Molotov.
Yeah, they make you think like this is going to be the thing that turns the tide. I'm finally going to be able to put the smackdown on these hordes. We're going to like get rid of this and clean up the countryside. And it's just like I can't even really tell what the difference is between the Molotov and the napalm, honestly.
Yeah, it just slightly burns longer or more, but it's annoying. Like, and I think all those missions near the end were just so frustrating. And we talked about it, even I think on previous podcasts. So we don't have to, but it's just like you have to go back and get supplies. You always run out. It was just a fail, in my opinion. And it didn't even need it. I don't think you even needed that mission, one of the last horde missions, because it didn't do anything for you. It just made me wait longer to get to the ending.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that the hordes are actually used properly in this game. I think they're best used, in my opinion. I know a lot of people actually like fighting the hordes. Many of the comments I got were people who said that was their favorite part of the game,
Wow.
which is crazy to me. But you like what you like, right? But for me, I think the most effective use of the hordes was just as like a fear. Or like deterrent, where if you need to get someplace, like trying to figure out how to get around the horde or to not be spotted by the horde, was pretty nail biting and pretty panic inducing. But you end up having to fight. The story makes you fight 3 hordes that you cannot get around because it's part of the story, and it's just not fun, right? Like they rush you. I never felt like I was in control. I never felt like I had a good handle on what I was doing. It ended up being just me like a lot of running away and a couple pot shots backwards or throwing a Molotov backwards. Keep running. And with the later hordes, where there's some where you have your motorcycle available, shoot some, jump on the bike, run away, get to a safe distance, shoot some more, ride away. It's just not fun. Like I just didn't think any of it was fun. I didn't ever get any weapons where I felt like all of a sudden I was badass. I just felt like I was always just struggling and just never really mastering that part of the game. So maybe it was a failing of not tutorializing this properly. Maybe it was a balance issue, or maybe that was what they were going after. Maybe they just wanted you to have that experience of just like struggling against something that was so unbeatable. It ended up not being fun. And the first one that you meet, I think it's the Chemult Horde, where you have to kind of go to this community college. It was really frustrating. I died at it like maybe 12 or 15 times. And I eventually had to go to like YouTube to find out some tips because I was just like not making any progress. And It was just this giant like stopping point in the story, which I did not appreciate. So that to me is probably the game's biggest fall down, is like when you actually fight those required horde fights, because you're not adequately prepared for them, and they're just really tough. And in fact, on easy mode, I don't know if this is for you or not, if you fail those 3 or 4 times, it's just like, would you like to skip this? And like,
oh yeah,
I was really tempted, but I didn't want to, so I did keep at it, and I finally beat them. But I mean, the very fact that they're like, we're just going to let you skip this, kind of shows that they didn't really polish it as much as they should have. It wasn't really what it should have been. Right. So, they gave you that escape hatch in case people like myself couldn't naturally get past it. I would have rather just not dealt with it, or give me better weapons, or teach me a better way to fight the hordes. I feel like they just drop you in the deep end there.
Yeah, 2 things to that. One, I guess I was on easy mode because I did see that skip scene. So does that only happen in easy mode?
Only on easy mode, yeah.
Okay, I guess I was in that. I didn't even know. But I also didn't skip any. I just like, no, I'm going to get through this.
Yeah, I did too. I powered through.
The lumber yard, whatever it's called, that was like the worst one. And it took me an hour. Like I just basically kept just driving around on my bike, getting away from them, taking out 20 more. It just was annoying,
It's boring and it's tedious and it's super annoying.
And the other part that doesn't work is, well, 2 parts really quick to be intricate about it. If you're nerdy about this, then maybe you'll enjoy it. But when it comes to the AI, they're treating it like they act as a unit. While that's interesting for certain things like traversal and pathfinding, for this type of scenario, especially like with a mission structure that you got to finish, just killing all of them, it's broken because it breaks the immersion of the game, because you're alerting like 3 that are off to the side, and then all of them kind of like respond. Yeah. It doesn't happen every time, but it happens more times than not. Like it's really like reflexive AI, where it just goes, okay, if these 3 are alerted and they're anywhere near us, everybody's going to go at you. And that is pretty damn annoying.
I will say, I agree with you 100%, but they do give a story justification for it. If you find one of the audio logs, there's not many audio logs in this game, which I am extremely grateful for, but there are some. And if you find them, they're kind of like special collectibles. And in one of them, they talk about that there's a theory where the Freakers are working on a hive mind. Mm-hmm. So like they're all kind of sharing like one consciousness or something like that, which I guess would explain why the one dude way off to the left alerts the entire horde where you're at. But I agree with you. In terms of a gameplay perspective, it was not fun
Right.
to try to pick off one guy in the end, and then all of a sudden you've got like 500 zombies on top of you. It's just really frustrating, and it just did not feel very good to play.
Like you said, hive mind. It'd be like the bees, right? So they're all protecting
Exactly.
the queen, and they all tell each other like telepathically or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bees are crazy, by the way. Anyways, one more thing about the horde is that like in the lumber yard, I had done so many weird things, like fast traveled, got more weapons, came back. My horde was like just a mess because if you don't reset the game, they like don't stay in the same area, right?
They kind of splinter off and stuff, like
Yeah.
chunks of them. Yeah,
So I don't know about yours, but mine were all by those the Nero Center area with all the lights and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they were just like fucking everywhere. Like they weren't together, so I couldn't just run over and throw a bunch of Molotovs. They were like just scattered. So it made it really hard to like take out a bunch at a time. And that's what made it so frustrating for me because I was like, I'll never be able to lump these guys together. Like, yeah, you have the attractor little devices, but that usually only gets like 6 of them, you know? So anyways.
Yeah. It wasn't great. I really, that is probably my least favorite thing about the whole game is actually fighting the hordes. I know some people dig it. I thought it was, for me, not what I liked. I didn't get any fun out of it. I avoided it as much as possible. Usually I just ran away from the horde, and
All
that
right.
was fine. So, yeah.
We're
Anyway.
in the hordes weeds. Let's get out and get to the last mission, which, like we alluded to earlier, you get to reignite your love with Sarah, which I love that mission. So cool.
Agreed. Good mission. Super good
And
mission.
then now you're working together, and now fast forward, you've got to get out of there, which is what I thought we were doing at the beginning when I first met her. Right? You and I probably both thought we were gonna bust
I mean,
her out of there.
that was the plan, but that's
Yeah.
not what happened.
So you do. That's surprise. The ending. That's what you really are going to do. You're going to get the fuck out of there. And of course, fucking Schizo shows back up and ruins everything. I don't know why. By the way, how do you feel about Schizo being like such a big part of that ending?
I mean, I think it was fine. It was okay. I mean, they needed some way to kind of mess up the camp because you guys were keeping your heads down. Nobody was spilling any beans. You could have easily slipped out of there, and that would have been fine for Deacon and Sarah, but it probably would have been for a pretty boring finale. They needed to really amp it up, and you never got Schizo his justice, right? So you probably were still kind of mad at that dude. I mean, it makes sense. I get why they did it. It was okay. It was maybe not what I would have done, but I'm fine with it, I guess.
Okay, how about this though? I know you're not fine about this. You shouldn't be, and if you are, we're no longer friends. But the fucking QuickTime event to get Schizo.
Oh, I was actually wondering about that. It's like the only one of the only QuickTime events in the game, unless you get grabbed by an enemy. If you never get grabbed by an enemy, you never see a QuickTime event. And that final one, which I thought was like, I mean, whatever. It only took me like I think one try or something, but it was still like I would have rather just shot him like any other enemy.
Right, but my point is not that. My point is not that it was easy. Like you have the dodge barrels, and then when you get to them, you hit a QuickTime button.
Yeah.
The point is, it's my biggest frustration, besides small text on a Nintendo Switch screen, is when you get to an end character, Dying Light. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, Dying Light.
And you have honed your skills, and you are ready to take out your enemy, and it's fucking Schizo. You let me shoot him, or you let me hit him with my machete. You let me do whatever I want because I earned it after 60 hours.
Yeah.
You don't make me do dodge barrels in a fucking Donkey Kong, all right?
It is definitely not nearly as satisfying to dodge barrels and do a QuickTime event as it would have been to like snipe his eyeball out or hit him with your bat or something.
Or
that
do
would have
anything
been,
you would have done to other
Exactly,
people.
yeah.
So
Agreed.
I know during this podcast I've had moments of vitriol. It's only because I care so much. And then after that, you are basically just escaping, right? Like you are taking off, and I guess we're at the end of the game where you've rebuilt the area because you kind of taken over.
Well, you're cutting out the big battle at the end where it's like, I mean, we kind of skipped over it a little bit, but basically you escape with Sarah, and then what happens is the military camp with the religious guy comes after you, so it becomes a war between the camps.
Oh, right, and the militia starts going everywhere.
Between the military religious camp and Iron Mike's camp of the pacifists. Definitely not a good conflict there. A lot of people get killed, big battle scenes happen, and then at the end of that is when you kill Schizo. So it's a pretty big build up. It's kind of an epic thing that goes down. You think for a while that Boozer, who, I mean, just to pause for a second here, we've barely talked about Boozer in this entire show.
What's wrong with us?
I love Boozer. I think he's a great character. He's a
great.
solid bro. He is like your biker buddy. He gets his arm cut off halfway through the game, and then he's dealing with that. I mean, we haven't even talked about Boozer, and I feel bad because we don't have time to talk about it now. But I loved Boozer. Like Deacon and Boozer was like great pair. I enjoyed every moment of how that went down. So Boozer, I am sorry.
Yeah, Boozer. Let's call the episode "Boozer, We're Sorry."
Boozer, we're sorry. Yes.
He gets a puppy at some point, and that's
Oh,
adorable.
And you can find a dog toy for the dog too.
Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't get him a dog toy, but he gets an arm that's like Evil Dead, and like he can do things with it. In the beginning,
oh my god, dude! When he gets an ice cream scoop on his arm, I just about lost it, dude. Oh my god. Yes,
yeah,
it's good.
By the way, he in the beginning wasn't my biggest annoyance, which is so funny. Just similar to like I am a bad judge of video game character in this game because I was like, oh, he's at home, he's mad, he's going crazy because he's got this arm. But yeah, he turns out to be this main staple. Like you go riding on the bike with him, and the music comes in. Man.
Some of the talks you have with Boozer are so good. Some of them, like Boozer's so depressed at some point, like he's gonna try to kill himself, and it's just like this like super sad moment. And
he gets drunk. Remember, he gets lost.
Yeah, dude gets drunk. Gets lost. I mean, there's so much good shit that happens with Boozer. It's all really real and just really sad. And like the whole thing about this is like it's these two guys who love each other like brothers, man. Like they are bros to the end. Like either one of these guys would be willing to lay down his life for the other one, and yet they barely say anything other than like yeah, bro. And they absolutely will not hug each other, even like when one of them thinks the other one's dead and they got him, come back from life, and they're so glad to see him. They don't hug because they're tough guys, and that was like super frustrating to me, man. I'm like, will you fucking give this guy a hug, please? For the love of God, give this guy a hug. It's just like. It's a great relationship. I love Boozer and Deacon. I'm sad that we didn't talk very much about Boozer, but he's a great guy, and that relationship I think is pretty wonderful.
Yeah, well, they hug at the end, I think, and also like
no, they don't, dude. They don't. They? No, I wanted them to. They didn't.
Oh, that's weird. I thought they did. In my mind, they did.
See,
yeah. Also, by the way, I've always said this. I love when games do this, and I hope more games do this, especially open world games. And Red Dead Redemption 2 did it really well. I know you won't play that game, but either way, when you have these really, really good actual full songs come in, right?
Oh, yeah.
They can be so impactful, and they are in this game. One is with Boozer, and the second one is with Sarah, and you're driving, and it's in the snow. You're like, fuck. I was like, fuck my life. This is amazing. I was like, I can't even, is what I said. I just kept explaining.
Yeah.
Because it was done so well. The mood and everything like that. And we haven't even talked about the physics and the weather and stuff is so done well. But anyways, near the end, you are after the whole militia thing happens and you have done the schizo in and you've basically taken over the camp. Now it's time for you guys to take off and go just get the fuck out of here. And essentially the end of the game is you driving, which is awesome. Like the credits are you driving away and feels so cool. And after the credits, there's a little scene. But what is the epilogue stuff as short as you can do?
So, okay,
we're already at 2 hours.
So that's the end. We do have a couple of listener comments we're going to get to before we wrap it. Yeah. Okay. So basically, we're at the end of the game. You rescue Sarah. You go back to Lost Lake Camp, and things are cool. At that point, the game says, "Hey, there's other stuff to do." I thought that was just general open world bullshit, but there are actually 4 pretty important scenes. So the first one is Deacon needs to ride back to the military camp and get his wedding rings back. In one of the cutscenes, they are taken away from him because nobody is allowed to have jewelry at that camp. So he goes back, tracks the rings down, and it just shows like he cares, right? He loves Sarah, he values his relationship, his wedding, and she is important to him. So him going back and just for that moment getting those rings, I think was a pretty good little scene. Very brief. The second one is you go back to Lost Lake and you have a funeral for Iron Mike. Addie carves him a tombstone out of like some kind of expensive wood. Ricky is there and she tells like a little story. They talk about Iron Mike and like remember him a little bit. And they all just kind of stand around and just say like even though he made mistakes and even though it really bit him in the end, like he lived his life the way he wanted to and he was a good guy. Like overall he was a good guy. Like, he may have yelled at you or maybe he was mad at you, but like he stood up for you and he was there and he was kind of the central linchpin for everybody at the Lost Lake camp. So that was a pretty good moment. I'm really glad I got to see that moment. The third epilogue is Lisa, who we mentioned really, really briefly. She is the girl that Deacon mistakenly takes to the slave camp before he knows it's a slave camp, and then he later helps her escape. What happens is Lisa just ends up like running around the woods. Like Deacon bumps into her every so often, and he tries to get her to settle down to camp, and she doesn't want to because she's had too many bad experiences. One of the final times Deacon meets her is she gets taken in by the Rippers, and she starts becoming a Ripper, but she remembers Deacon and all the things that he tried to do for her. So she is really how Deacon escapes from the Rippers at this one point, and then she disappears.
Deacon saves her. Mission.
Yeah. Okay. You did.
Yeah,
Which
that
one?
one. That one. I feel like I did that before the ending. I did. Yeah, I definitely did that one before
Oh
the
yeah, but
ending.
there's more coming though. That's the setup
Oh,
for it.
okay,
That is the
okay.
setup. So Lisa saves you from the Rippers, and then she disappears again. After credits, there's somebody at the gate of the camp, and it's Lisa. She rides up on a motorcycle. She's a former Ripper. She's got like the scars. She looks crazy, and the guards at the gate are trying to kill her because they think she's Ripper, and she's like, "I'm not a Ripper." Deacon rides up, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! This is Lisa. I know her," and he vouches for her, and he's talking to her. So she's like, in the time between that you see her in the Ripper camp and the end of the game, she is like gotten out of the Ripper camp, found a motorcycle, got herself some clothes, and she's kind of like becoming a drifter herself. She fears the camps, doesn't want to be close to humans, but she's like carving out a life for herself in the wilderness. And Deacon's trying to like, hey, we've got food, we've got shelter and stuff. And she's like, yeah, whatever, but I want to live my life. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm glad you made it, Lisa. I'm glad you survived. I helped you. Maybe I didn't give you the best help, but I did try to help you. So she survived. She makes it to the end of the
Wow,
game.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an epic story. I mean, that is her journey is the video game. You could like
yeah.
just have a video game about her,
It would be pretty cool.
And also, she shouldn't trust anyone ever again.
And,
like,
she doesn't. Like, she
Yeah.
kind of doesn't, which is kind of fine.
yeah.
She doesn't settle in the camp. She doesn't trust Deacon 100%. But she realizes he meant well and that he did try to help her multiple times. She helped him. And so they've got this kind of, like, uneasy alliance where she's like, I'm not ever going to trust anybody. I'm not going to trust, you, but we're kind of friends maybe. And the fact that she survived from the beginning of the game to the end was
Yeah,
pretty
that's
awesome.
cool.
Pretty awesome. The final epilogue was with O'Brien.
Fucking O'Brien.
Fucking O'Brien. After you do a bunch of stuff, O'Brien radios you and he's like, hey man, I got to show you something. And you're like, what the fuck do you want, man? Like, you make me do all this shit and you made me work so hard to find my wife, and fuck you, O'Brien. And he's like, come on, you got to meet me. So what happens is you go to meet him at a cemetery and he's like, hey man, all the data that you were getting from me was like really important because the guys who were above me were working on some shit. Like, people on my level, we didn't know anything. Like, we were all separated. We didn't know what everybody else was doing. It was all, something was going on. Like, we all knew something fishy was happening, but we weren't sure what was going on. And what happens is the virus is still mutating. All that stuff you found for me shows how the virus is progressing, but it's going in different ways that we didn't even expect. And at that point, O'Brien takes off his mask and he is mutated. He is like half a freaker.
That's why his mask was on the whole time.
He's white. He's creepy looking. He's monstrous. And he's like, we are all changing and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just a matter of time. And this is what's going down. And I wanted you to know, just as a warning. And as he turns away, the helicopter starts taking off without O'Brien. And O'Brien gets into like a little animal crouch and like leaps up to the helicopter like a freaker.
What?
And he gets inside the helicopter and they take off. And it's just like this scary fucking music starts playing. And it's just like this super dark note to end the game on, man.
Oh my
nuts.
goodness. That is
Right.
a huge one, dude. That is a game-changing one that I did not see. But
It definitely added a new spin to the end.
I've already deleted the game. I'm never going back to it. But yes, that is intense. And also, I don't think it means like, was he implying that everyone is already infected? That kind of a story?
I mean, that's kind of what I took from it, but it's kind of left open. It's kind of vague,
Okay.
right? You don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
You don't know.
Wow. Oh, by the way, we kind of glossed over it, but yeah, like similar to WandaVision, which is a great show. If anybody want to check out an awesome show,
Sure.
WandaVision. In WandaVision, oh, it's a spoiler though. Okay,
Don't spoil WandaVision.
Okay, never mind then.
Never mind, drop it.
I can't say anything I was about to say. Never mind. Continue.
One last thing before we wrap up. I think we've kind of done the nuts and the bolts. The final thing, the thing I alluded to earlier, the secret weapon in the game that you have to like. It's like it's too many hoops to jump through, right? Like you have to collect like these 18 pieces of data, and if you don't know what they are, then you're not keeping track of which ones you have. And then by the time you realize what you're doing, you don't remember which ones you got. Which one. It was like a pain in the ass. I didn't do it, but if you do get the 18 pieces of data, what it is you find Gabe Logan's stun gun. So Gabe Logan being the star of Siphon Filter, one of their original series, he was well known for having a stun gun. That was his signature weapon. So you find a stun gun with his initials, GL, on it. You can equip it. You can stun zombies with it. I saw a video on YouTube. If you stun them long enough, they catch fire and die. It's not like the greatest weapon. It's not something you're going to bust out against a horde, but it's kind of funny and a cool throwback, kind of nod to their old games. And it also proves that the universe that Siphon Filter took place in is the same universe for Days Gone, because a lot of the data files you can find talk about viral infections and viral science. And that was like a big thing about Siphon Filter. They were working on a virus, and most of Gabe's missions were about getting a virus back. So if you connect those dots, maybe Gabe Logan failed his final mission. The virus gets out of hand, something. these guys take it over and it becomes a zombie virus. So there is definitely a through line, and for longtime fans of Bend, kind of a cool way for them to connect those universes.
Nice. And then the extra special thing you can find at the end, if you've gotten like 35 pieces, is Bugsby 3D. Bugsby just shows up and he's like, "It was me. I made all this happen.
It was me all along." All right, dude. I think we're at the end of our show. I feel like I've said my piece. Do you feel like you've said your piece?
Yeah. My final thought is this, though. I want to have a final thought.
Yes.
2-hour podcast done. And I do think we said everything. And again, sorry, Boozer. We love you.
Oh,
and,
man. Yeah. We should have talked about Boozer more.
We should talk about Boozer more. But I'll say this. The game, why I like it a lot, is not only the character development and just like the realism that we all talk about in the world as well as the characters, but the fact is, because it surprised us, because it confused us, because it made us mad, and then also happy. At the end of it, when credits were rolling, I'm like, it's like life. It's messy. Like, this game is messy. And I was like, that is also like life. Life is not like a video game. Like, at times, yeah, it is. And we could say we're living in a simulation, et cetera, but it is still chaotic and confusing, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know if you're winning, or doing well sometimes. And that's what this game felt like. When it was finished, I was tired. I mean, definitely exhausted. And that's kind of how I feel like in life, right? You're like, this character, this person I didn't want to believe in, now I do believe in. This person I didn't think I would be friends with, I just had to give them the benefit of the doubt. And actually now we've had a lot of experiences together and they're my best friend. So it just felt like, and this is a high praise, it felt like a game that felt like life, and it felt messy at times and dark and hurtful, but it just felt like life.
Yeah, that is a good point. And much like life, like these characters are really what brought it to life, right? Like, I mean, the depth of the portrayals, the performances, the voice acting, like something that we totally have not even fucking mentioned, and we're already at the end of this fucking 2-hour podcast. The goddamn performances and the facial capture of these characters is incredible. I know that like Naughty Dog gets all the props for like, facial capture in games and stuff, and they do a good job and all that. But like watching these characters, there were so many times when Deacon would just like squint a certain way, or he'd like shrug a certain way, or like Boozer would give you this look on his face where it said like everything about how he was feeling, right? You didn't have to hear him say anything because you could just look at him and you would know like he was feeling like done, or he was feeling frustrated, or whatever. Or like the little glances that Ricky gives you where, I mean, how incredible is it that here's this person who's kind of like testing the waters to see if maybe she's interested in you or not, maybe not. And just you get like all that from just like a look or just like a tilt of her shoulder or something. Yeah. Like the way that they were able to capture those performances was amazing. And I really love this cast. I loved every character in this cast. I think it's a great series of performances. This game does not get nearly enough credit for how human the characters are, how well they capture the emotion, the facial features, the body language, and also just like the scripting and the writing. Like, even though there's a few bumps and bruises, a few weird choices here and there, a few truncated parts, overall, what an amazing production. Like, I was so taken, and honestly, that's what carried me through, right? If the performances weren't this strong, if I didn't love this cast so much, I probably wouldn't have finished it, because it's like 80 hours of killing zombies, dude. That's a lot of game. And, maybe it's fun, maybe it's not, or maybe it's not quite that fun. But really, I was so invested. I was so sold on Deacon and Boozer and Ricky and Iron Mike and everybody else, and I wanted to see what was going to happen, and I wanted to help them get through this whole thing. That was really what pulled me all the way to the end. And honestly, by the time I got to the end, I could have played more, dude. Like, if there was more story, I would have fucking done it, and gladly. So, I mean, that, to me, coming from me, is pretty high praise, knowing that I'm like Mr. fucking short game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and also you get to play more because they're making another game. They'll be doing this again, and hopefully they'll knock it out of the park as well.
Oh man, I gotta be honest with you, dude. I'm like, after playing this game, and I love this game, I'm like, okay, I don't want to play anything like this. I'm gonna stay away from long games for like the next 6 months. I'm gonna play just short games. Hopefully, by the time that Days Gone 2 comes out, I will be refreshed and revitalized and ready to jump back in, because like I don't want to play another one of these back to back.
Which is so funny because we're opposite in lots of different ways, and I'm like texting you immediately, like, I'm jumping back into a huge open world game.
You are a crazy person.
Because like when I finish an RPG, I like end up going to another RPG right away. I don't know. I do have a problem. But the last thing I'll say is to echo your point about the performances. we got to talk about, like, again, the actors and actresses. Like,
So good, so good.
like so many games, I'm not even thinking about the actors, right? Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, I just like killed a bunch of people or whatever. But like this, even like the people who I didn't like whoever played that, I forgive us for not knowing all your names, but you just Google it. Even the scientists, all the different people. You're like, wow, that performance was believable, like totally believable.
Yeah, they were all great, top-notch stuff, and the game just does not get enough credit for it.
Days Gone, we played it. We're gone now. We deleted that motherfucking thing. It's off the drives, right? And
Yes, I did everything I was ever going to do and completed it like 99.9%, and I'm good. That is deleted off my hard drive now.
but man, what a great time! And you've already probably beat it because you're listening to the spoiler cast. So yeah, it was fun to go through it with you.
So we are at the end of our podcast. We got some comments from listeners. I will say this was an interesting thing because usually we get tons and tons of responses when we ask for these responses. But boy, I had to really like search high and low for people to respond. I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe people did not play Days Gone. Maybe they had a bad experience and bounced when it was on weaker hardware. Or I don't know what. But like we didn't get super many responses, but we will read the ones. Carlos, as you were speaking, I emailed you a list of the responses. Check your email if you're near your email dispenser.
Okay.
We can take turns reading these. We'll go through. We did get some responses, and thank you to everybody who responded. Really grateful for that. We're going to take turns going through these, maybe a quick comment or two, and then we're going to wrap it up. Did you receive that email, Carlos?
I'm sure I did, unless some sort of email gremlin or email freaker.
Unless that email had to drive through a horde of freakers.
Or if he had to go through a horde, then I definitely didn't get it.
Definitely did not get that.
I don't have enough Molotovs. Okay, yep. So you want to get started off?
I'll start it off, and then we'll just go back and forth, back and forth. Good?
Yep.
All right. First one comes from Daz Wright from Twitter. He says, I've made it to the final third of Days Gone, and you're right. A massively underrated game. I think, in many ways, I am enjoying it more than The Last of Us Part 2. And boy, that makes two of us.
Oh, yeah. Easily for us, too.
Easily, yeah.
At Zolbrod says, I've been playing through this recently, about 10 hours in. It looks and runs great on the PS5. Sure does. But I can't say I'm enjoying it much. Now, around that time, by the way, for Zolbrod, is when I started noping out too. So maybe after listening to this, if you did listen to it, give it another chance. The stealth and combat are fun enough, but the missions are boring and the exploration doesn't feel rewarding at all. It's very generic and unoriginal. Mind you, I felt the same way about The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, which feel very similar. I'm not really sold on the story and the characters either. I would say Zolbrod, I think we said it in this podcast, but it's definitely early days because this game's so long that I would say maybe give it another shot.
Yeah, maybe give it a shot, knowing that it takes a little while. I mean, I was hooked from the beginning, so I don't share that feeling. But I mean, I spent like 80 hours, so you've only seen like an eighth of the game. So I mean, I don't want somebody to play a game they don't like, but just keep that in mind.
But to their point, like it definitely is the beginning. Like a lot of just running around doing the same stuff, and Boozer's at home, right? So
yeah,
it takes a minute.
Next comment comes from Frank at Onyx Oblivion. He says, it is firmly a game I keep meaning to play when it's on PS Plus, but then it got vaulted to PS5. It's already there as part of the instant game collection for PS5 thing, so I guess I'm waiting for it on PS4, which probably isn't happening because it's on PS5. So Frank is having some feelings. But to put it directly, he says, it is a game I am in no rush to play and in no rush to pay for, but I would actually try it.
There's a similarity here. Like you said, it was hard to get responses. And it's there's just like an interesting like blind spot, I should say, for this game and like in the industry. I don't know. Hopefully we're like shining a light on it because it's fucking incredible. Atlas Never Blinks at Lit Grew. It was good. I liked the way the systems and encounters could overlap in the open world. The hordes were impressive, and I liked the loudspeakers. Oh, those fucking loudspeakers.
The loudspeakers. So what he's referring to is there's these little science stations that you need to take over. They hold upgrades for Deacon inside. But the way that you do that is you have to turn the electricity back on to unlock the doors. But when you turn on the electricity, all these loudspeakers come roaring to life, and then hordes come piling in. So you very quickly learn you have to disable the loudspeakers before you turn the power back on. And it's kind of a mini game because the developers got really good at hiding the loudspeakers. Like sometimes they'd be up on a post, across the street, under a box or whatever. And if you missed even one, it was like, oh, fuck.
By the way, real quick tangent. I know we're at time, but very late in the game did I realize you could shoot those.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah, I thought you just had to go up in quick time event, like little cut them, because you can like
Oh, yeah.
you push
There's a bunch that you
box.
can't reach. Like they're up on posts and stuff.
Well, then I missed those until I
Oh,
started learning I could shoot them.
you definitely got to shoot those ones. All right, next up, Patty Stardust says, "My own experience with." Hi, Patty. By the way, I love Patty Stardust. One of my favorite people on Twitter. My own experience was less than favorable. Moving around the bike was just okay. Wouldn't say I was having a bad time, but a bland one. The straw that broke the camel's back was after spending 20 minutes clearing out a med station area, which is exactly what we just talked about, quickly and quietly. I thought it was cleared enough to enter, but it turns out I had missed one loudspeaker on the other side of the road, and the zombies descended, big dead, lost all my progress, deleted, not for me, this one.
Yeah, I can see how that can make you
Yeah,
frustrated.
that can be rough.
At Sleeper Hit 79, I'm loving it so far. Haven't been able to play as much as I'd like because of baby and spending time with my lovely, smart, funny, non-gamer wife. In parentheses, nobody's perfect. But it is definitely an underrated gem. Sadly, I won't be able to listen to Spoilercast for a bit. Yeah, so you're not hearing us talk about this, but I can't wait for you to play it longer.
Yep, and I did tell Gabriel that he can listen to the first half. I love Gabriel, great guy on Twitter, one of my favorite people, always ready with a joke, which I appreciate. Next comes Brian M. Welch. He says, started playing it based on your comments. I'm only a couple hours in, but very pleasantly surprised how good it is so far.
All right, and a big one at the end. Oh, no, wait, two more. Bailey King Gamer, sure. Wait, sure was an
This is
answer?
me asking if, no, this was me asking for comments, and she came back and said, sure, like,
Okay,
yes.
got it. Okay,
comments,
yeah.
yes.
I could talk about it forever, and I could fill an entire cast with my ranting. You already know my feelings on the game, and you are welcome to use anything we talked about, or be it publicly or privately. Great story, impressive hordes, as well as their functions. Definitely needed more accessibility. It was released without any and patched in 3 months later. All right, so now is a good time to play it then. It does
Definitely.
have those patches. Yeah. Also, there originally was a bug that caused Deacon to scream bear randomly while driving around. I doubt it's important for the cast, but it tickled me every time. Deer crossing.
Yes. So a little context. Bailey and I talked about Days Gone at length. She was DMing me, so we were kind of taking it offline, so we weren't spoiling people. But she is a super fan of the game. I think she's working on a second playthrough, and she had lots of wisdom to share. So I really appreciated her insights, and she got me through some of the hordes and stuff. So great person, Bailey King Gamer on Twitter. She mentioned the bear bug. I did not mention the bear bug, but one thing that struck me really funny was, I don't know about you, dude, but like I found that Deacon mentioned deer crossing like an unnatural amount of times. Like,
yeah.
It was ridiculous how many times he mentioned deer crossing. You'd be driving on your bike, he'd be like, deer crossing. Huh, that would have been bad news when cars were still around. Or like he said this like shit like that like so many times. I'm like, fuck the deer crossing, okay? Let it go. It's fine.
It's funny because they did cross though a lot, and I could almost hit them like so many times. But yeah, he said that little audio trigger, they messed it up. Somehow it was on for too many times.
Yeah, it was way too common. It was like comically often is what he said. Final comment is from Omar C555. Says, after hearing you guys talk about it for the past few episodes, my interest in the PC port went from to I'm going to buy it when it's released.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully that did the same thing by listening to this whole show, whoever's listened to it. We just really like it. I don't know. I think that's what we're saying.
I think this was probably one of my all-time favorite open world experiences. I loved the cast. I loved everything about it. I had a great time. Would have gladly played another 20 hours of it if it was there. I just really vibed with this game pretty hard, and it seems like you really enjoyed it too. So I guess the only thing left is just to thank Ben Studios for creating such a great game, and I really hope that they, carry it forward. I mean, I would love to see more of this world, and I mean, apparently they're working on a sequel, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And all my frustrations, like I said, during the podcast that we just did, and me yelling and swearing, was because I cared so much, It's such a good game, and when things stick out that are annoying or weird, it's just because I like all the other parts so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when something is nearly perfect, the smallest imperfection can stand out so strong. So, yeah for sure.
All right.
We're
out of gas. We're out of gas.
Oh, the gas tank is empty. We got to walk from here. And hopefully there's not too many freakers between us and the next gas station. Folks, thank you so much for listening. This is, I think, maybe one of the longest episodes we've ever done, 2.5 hours. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Thank you for listening to our Days Gone A to Z spoiler cast. As always, hit us up with your thoughts, comments, feedback, whether it's on this game or any other one. We'd love to get your questions and comments. Hit us up. SoVideoGamesPodcast@gmail.com. We're on Twitter @SoVideoGames. You can also hit us up individually. Carlos, where can people find you this week?
Just youtube.com/a-lot-of-things.
As for me, same as always, Twitter and Instagram, BRADGALLAWAY, all A's, no O's. And that is going to do it for this mammoth episode number 255. A big one, but deservedly so. Thank you again for joining us here at So Video Games. And we will be back to the normal episode? No, we'll be back to the normal format. Normal podcast. No, God, my brain is tapped.
It's okay. Your gas is out. You need a gas tank.
Gas is out. I'm done. I'm spent. I got to get back.
By the way, anyone who made it this far, you're a super fan, and you get to find out that we probably will do a live stream test next episode.
That's true. We'll talk about it on Twitter, but you're hearing about it first here. You may be able to tune into us live and maybe even Q&A or something like that. We'll see what happens. So, all right. In the meantime, I hear a bunk calling my name. Get it?
What?
That's a quote from the game.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Deacon says it all the time.
Okay, I missed it.
Boozer says it also.
Fucking O'Brien.
Fucking O'Brien.
Okay.
This is Goodbye from Brad.
And this is Bear With Us. We'll be back before you know it.
Ear crossing.
Bear with me. That's not bad. It's not as bad as my other ones.